Hey guys, how are you all doing? Welcome to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto dies after sealing the Kyuubi, but Gods decides to save him, part 2. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic, run in 2106, link is in the description, and also subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Let's start the story. Mom, Dad, did you see that? Natsu cried out of excitement, as he released his chakra. Ha. Take that, Narumi. I'm now one step closer to beating you to the title of next Hokage. Laugh all you want, but in the end, you wouldn't even be able to match me, cause I unlocked mine earlier, so I've got a head start. Narumi smirked at him, making Natsu angry and irritated, before their parents had intervened. Now, don't start fighting, children. You should be very proud of yourselves, since nobody gets to unlock their chakra so fast, and with so little trouble. Minato said with a proud smile on his face, with Kushina matching his joy. Just 10 days into the training, and you've already tapped into your chakra. I swear, by the time you become Genins, you two will be unstoppable if you continue on like this. Of course they'll be unstoppable, when they have two of Konoha's best shinobi, and two Sanins helping them out, Minato. Kushina said with a big smile. Oh, you are making me so proud of you. To think that you've managed to unlock your chakra so fast. Not even Makoto's genius son couldn't do it until he was 6, and I've got two of you beating him for a year. You must be prodigies, Natsu, Narumi. Kushina grabbed both of her kids, and hugged them tightly, with Minato joining in. This was the scene of a happy celebration of children's success that was observed by one child that seemed left out in the family. That child, Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki, currently observed everything that transpired through the window on the second floor of his estate, his golden eyes looking at what was going on in the garden with a barely hidden hurt, covered by the bangs of red-like blood hair, with streaks of white in them. He stood out from his brother and sister, with Natsu having blue eyes and red hair, while Narumi had blonde hair and violet eyes. And it wasn't just because of his looks, but also because of the attitude he had, which was vastly different from his siblings. Where Natsu and Narumi were seemingly obsessed and overly excited with everything that revolved around being a shinobi, Naruto seemed to take it with far less excitement and enthusiasm. While he was somewhat interested in being a shinobi, if only to gain some manner of attention from his parents, he didn't see being a shinobi as everything there was to life and the world. If anything, Naruto felt it to be somewhat restraining to him, and not fully for him. Along with that, Naruto was different in how he preferred to spend his time, as he liked to read books on all sorts of stuff, like legends, folklore, myths, but also more complex stuff, like maths, science, and so on. Where he was far more comfortable with spending time with a book, his siblings hung out with their friends, of which they had a dime, and a dozen, if not several dozens. And since Naruto didn't talk much to other people, he didn't have friends among the villagers, and given some other factors, it was no wonder that he was seen as a strange child. Such, as when their parents had asked on their 5th birthday whom they wanted to be, Natsu and Narumi instantly said that they wanted to be shinobi and future Hokage, with Minato, Kushina, and everyone else praising them and smiling, with Naruto thinking that his siblings simply gave expected answers. But when he was asked, Naruto didn't answer with shinobi. Instead, his answer was that he didn't know who he wanted to be, but he did say that he would like to help those in need of it. His parents and everyone else at the party interpreted as being a hero and shinobi of Konoha and its people, with everyone saying that it was a nice dream, but it was then that Naruto said that he didn't mean Konoha. He wanted to help people just because they were people, even if they were from other villages, whether he was or wasn't a shinobi. When his mother asked why he wanted to help everyone, and not just Konoha, Naruto answered that it would be wrong to ignore everyone else. His siblings laughed at him, calling him a fool, and saying that the only way he could be a hero was if he were to be shinobi of Konoha, with other children quickly picking up on him by calling him a fool. Grown-ups, along with his parents, decided to dismiss this drivel as a child's dream and nothing more, focusing back on his siblings. Most had probably even forgotten about it already, but Naruto didn't, as he was actually serious with what he said, or at least, as serious as a child of his age could be. It did hurt that he was dismissed by everyone for his words, and that other children called him a fool, but Naruto decided not to give it much of a thought. Just because he was called a fool didn't make him one in his own opinion, and even when village and its majority soon started to refer to Naruto as Namikaze's fool, he simply didn't bother with it. People have always been giving him weird looks, and dismissed him in favor of his siblings, who were nearly worshipped as heroes of Konoha, for holding in them the nine-tailed fox. Natsu and Narumi were used to such attention and reverence, being fed it since they were born, and it showed in their attitudes. Personally, Naruto thought it was strange that people praised his brother and sister for seemingly doing nothing. They didn't fight the Kyuubi, or do the sealing, or even serve as seals themselves. They are simply vessels for its power, not the ones who hold those vessels closed for Fox, and they are not the ones who sealed the Fox, so why worship them? This just puzzled Naruto, as to why people revered his siblings so much. If anyone was worth the respect, then it would be those that had given their lives for the village, and in saving people from the fox. But people seemingly forgot about these heroes, or didn't want to mention them. And, as for Naruto personally, then the opinion of people was completely different, as he seemed to be an odd boy to them all, including his parents, which wasn't helped by the fact of Naruto possessing eyes with the golden color, something that his mother and father had stated should have been impossible, since they had different colors of eyes. He was their son, there was no doubt about it, as Naruto had facial characteristics of his mother and father mixed into him, but the eyes were something completely foreign, and that wasn't the end of it yet. From what Naruto understood, he wasn't supposed to have survived when he was just born, and yet, he was healed from whatever that was killing him, and it was also the very day that he also gained his eyes. This quickly created plenty of rumors, ranging from Naruto being a completely different child that his parents took in to stop feeling hurt, to Naruto actually being possessed by the fox's soul, with his eyes being the same as Kyuubi's. His parents didn't actually believe any of it, but because they never really addressed all the rumors and speculations, they never stopped or died out. This served a foul service to Naruto, creating him a rather bad reputation around the village, with dozens of stories being mixed into it about him being a cursed child, possessed by a fox, or not even a real Namekus. Of course, nobody had even dared to mention those rumors to Minato or Kushina, fearing for their lives and health, as they all knew about Kushina's explosive temper and preference to violence over talking. Because of this, people always gave Naruto cold glares or preferred to ignore him outright, especially when his siblings were around, but generally, people didn't do anything bad to him or harmed him in any way. So when the rumors spread of Naruto being a fool, people took to this like fish takes to water, and he quickly earned himself a new nickname, Fool of Konoha. Another curious thing that Naruto also had going for him was the fact that he could always understand and tell what people really felt when they spoke to him or were near him. It was like he could read their minds and tell when they were telling a lie or being truthful. He could also understand and sense what people felt towards him, which was something, as Naruto found out some time ago, was something that only he could do. For example, he could tell exactly how people felt towards him when he was around him, and most times it was either indifferent, some kind of disappointment, or just plain hatred or malice for some reason. Same went for his parents and siblings, and he could tell what people felt about others, if he wanted. This was one of the reasons why he never felt as close with his siblings and parents as they were with each other. He could sense that his parents loved him, or at least cared for him, but when compared to his siblings, their love and adoration of them was far stronger. It was like comparing a local normal house to a clan's estate with its grounds. Naruto also sensed disappointment from his parents every time they looked at him, as if he wasn't as good as they had wanted him to be. He knew he was different from them and his siblings, but just because of that, why should they feel like he is failing them? While Naruto had long learned to keep his calm and not dwell on bad things, that was one of the few things that kept distressing him. Naruto didn't understand why people were so cold towards him, and why they thought that he wasn't his parents' kid. True, his eyes were different, but he did read in a book that it could have been because he took after his grandparents. It was possible, so why didn't people think about it? Why think the worst possible thing to be the right one? Honestly, the people of Konoha and Shinobi vexed Naruto with their ignorant attitude. His parents also surprised Naruto in a few ways, such as being completely ignorant towards rumors spreading around about their son, or in the fact that they gave far more attention towards his siblings instead of him, and his little sister Mito, with whom he was currently sitting in the room. Mito was born nearly 3 years ago in September, making her 2 years old, with looks that nearly matched those of Naruto, as she sported bright crimson hair, and even resembled Naruto facially, while her eyes were a violet color, same as Kushina. Out of all his siblings, Naruto could honestly say that he was closest with his little sister, as, when there wasn't anyone staying with her, she was always in Naruto's company. He enjoyed his little sister's company, and she always was able to make him stop thinking about things, and just smile, with Naruto always making his little sister smile, and laugh whenever he could. Like with others, Naruto was capable of sensing the emotions of his little sister, and sensing and seeing her joy was more than enough to lift his spirits and forget about all the bad stuff. Natsu and Narumi didn't seem to have the same effect on Mito, as their antics and hyperbolic personalities seemed to scare Mito, making her cry, and when this happened, Naruto was almost always able to make her stop and smile again. Because of that, along with their many friends and admirers, they didn't like to spend much time with her, and thought it to be boring. The thing that his parents didn't think like they did, and paid Mito enough attention, but ever since they've started training his siblings, they've become somewhat distant from Mito, with his mother even deciding to employ a babysitter for Mito, when she was training Natsu and Narumi. For some reason that Naruto didn't yet understand, the fact that his mother would pay someone to look after Mito instead of doing it herself, made the youngest of triplets feel angry at his mother. And it was amplified even further when he discovered that the woman in question wasn't even all that interested in looking after Mito, as she was putting on a show of doing it, so as to earn her self-appreciation of Minato and Kushina. Naruto's musings about things and his observation of his family were interrupted when he sensed how small palm of his sister touched his leg. He instantly turned away from the window and looked down at Mito, flashing her a wide smile, with Mito answering with giggles and the same. Picking her up with some difficulty, Naruto sat with her on the bed and spoke up. So Mito, what story would you like to hear today? A tale of gallant ninja, or how about a tale of Fox Princess Shizuka and Big Bad Oni Takamaru? Naruto asked her, as this was their favorite pastime. Foxy. Foxy. Mito enthusiastically said, with Naruto smiling and beginning his tale. Alright, the public made its decision. Naruto said, as he sat more comfortably. Once upon a time, in the mountains far, far away stood a very big and very pretty palace. Bigger than our home? Mito asked, with Naruto nodding to her. Yes, it was as big as Hokage Mountain, and in there lived a very beautiful Princess Shizuka. People from all over the world, lords, samurai, shinobi, and merchants, would seek her out and ask for her hand in marriage, but she would turn everyone away. Naruto continued. But why? Shizuka didn't want to become someone's wife just yet, and because they didn't see the real her, and only saw what they wanted to see. Naruto said in a somewhat riddled fashion. Because she wasn't just a princess, but she was also a kitsune, and a kami that people of local towns and villages prayed to. While she was in her palace, and people prayed to her, she would provide people with good harvests, and protect them, and their crops from rains. Ah, so she was like Papa. Mito said with giggles. Did she also have shinobi helping her? No, not shinobi, but kitsune just like her, only younger, and not as powerful. You see, Mito, Shizuka was a tenko, a kitsune that lived over 1,000 years, and grew all 9 tails. With all 9 tails, a kitsune could become a tenko, a very, very important kitsune, and a local kami. Naruto explained to her. Like Hokage, she would protect and look after people, but also make sure that they had all they required, as long as people respected her, and didn't try to hurt nature or hunt foxes. Why would people hurt foxes? Mito asked in a saddened voice. Everyone has their own reason, Mito, but you shouldn't hurt foxes if they do not do harm to you. Foxes are servants of goddess Inari, a very important goddess that people pray to for harvests, money, and so on. If you respect nature, and sometimes feed foxes that come near your farmer house, then Inari will bless you, but if you hurt it, then Inari will send her kitsune after you, and all those that hurt her foxes. And when that happened, those evildoers would start to have all kinds of bad things happen to them, from tripping on flat ground to having all of their food being eaten by kitsune, and worse. Naruto continued. Now, Shizuka herself was. It was at that point when the door into his room opened up, and in stepped the babysitter that his mother had hired, one Mabuki Haruno. Ah, there you are, little rascal. Why did you take her out of her crib, you fool of a child? Mabuki practically screeched at Naruto, who flinched at how she spoke, and kept himself from scowling at the woman, reading her like a book. Mito was lonely, and I decided Naruto spoke up, but wasn't allowed to continue, as Mabuki stormed towards him, and Mito. She pushed him aside, and grabbed Mito, before stepping out of the room, with Mito protesting. I don't want to see you passing on whatever foolishness you have onto Mito, you hear me? If I see her with you again the next time I'm here, I'll report to your parents, and they'll deal with you. Do you understand me, fool? She threatened Naruto, with him nodding to her. Good, now make yourself useful, and don't show yourself around me, and Mito. With that, she stepped out of the room, banging the door loudly on her way back, leaving Naruto alone in his room. Or so it would seem for most, but not to Naruto, because for as long as he could remember, he was always able to see things that normal people couldn't. Like, for instance, Naruto turned to his right, his gaze looking at the 2 other beings that were in his room. Closest to him sat a fox with dark brown fur and red eyes, with red markings on her body, and 5 fluffy long tails waving behind her. She emitted an unnatural fiery glow from herself, with only Naruto being able to see it. He could clearly see how she was angry, and he couldn't blame her, since he too didn't like Mabuki one bit. She seemed to care only about herself, and didn't care much about Mito, at least not as much as Naruto would have wanted. The second occupant also looked like a fox, but unlike the first one, she had only 1 tail, which was longer than her body. She also had white fur, with the tip of her long tail being colored red. Her eyes were yellow, and she had 4 horns on her head, pointed backwards. She emitted a green glow from her body, and seemed floating in the air, also showing with her violently swinging tail, that she was displeased with Mabuki. These were what Naruto had been the subject that Naruto was telling about to Mito. They were kitsune, with the 6-tailed one being called Akagi, while the white-horned kitsune called herself Izuna. And Naruto was the only one who could see, touch, and talk to them, with everyone around him, and in the village not capable of even perceiving them or other creatures like them, which were called yokai. These yokai are capable of existing outside of human perception, with nobody, not even censors, Hyuga or Uchiha, being able to see or even sense their presence. And it was much to the benefit of the yokai, since there were a great many of them living in Konoha and its local areas, varying from small forest spirits Kodama, and ending with kitsune. Naruto literally saw all kinds of yokai when he was out on the streets, creatures passing by humans that would make anyone stop and run for the hills, yet none could see them, save for Naruto. This, along with his empathy thing, was also one of the strange things that Naruto could do, and a few years back, he had tried to tell his parents all about it, but they dismissed it all as a child's fantasies. He tried to prove them wrong, but all it did was earn him laughs from his parents, mocking from his siblings, and later on a worsened reputation among the villagers. Now that Naruto thought about it, he could potentially understand why people were so distrustful and cold towards him, as well as prone to see him as a fool or an odd child. Didn't mean that it wasn't hurtful, but still. Back to the kitsune in front of Naruto. Due to his abilities, Naruto was always aware of someone watching over him, since he was the same age as Mito. Sometimes he would even see Akagi and some other kitsune watching over him from the window or right outside his crib, looking after him when he was left alone. Most, or rather always, it was Akagi that was near him, and she was the first one of the kitsune, and yokai in general to speak to him. She taught him all he now knew about yokai, kitsune, and the world, as it was in reality, and all other things. She told him that she and other kitsune were instructed to watch over him by a Tenko that resided in this village. When Naruto had asked who Tenko was, Akagi didn't answer, but she did tell him that they will meet when the time is right. Naruto trusted Akagi and other kitsune because he could clearly see and sense that they didn't wish him any harm and genuinely were concerned about him. Akagi in particular was very protective towards Naruto, claiming that to her, he was the most important person in the world, with Naruto sensing devotion, care, love, and something that he couldn't quite yet figure out. Naruto just accepted this all as a fact, and with that, he had gained himself his first real friend. Izuna was one of the kitsune that was tasked with looking after him, but she seemed to have long taken a liking to Mito, which didn't bother Naruto all that much. If anything, he was relieved that his sister had someone looking after her when he wasn't around. Letting out a sigh, Naruto stood up from his seat and fixed his appearance a bit. Wretched woman. What right does she have to shove you like this? Naruto, darling, just say the word, and I'll make her beg for you to forgive her. Akagi offered him with a very menacing giggle followed afterwards. I wish, but then she would probably say that it was me who had done it to her, and I think my parents would believe her, or at least my mom would. She does still think that Mibuki is her best friend, alongside Mikoto. Naruto sighed again, before turning to Izuna. Izuna, could you look out for Mito? I doubt I'll be able to see her again before dinner. I'll not let her out of my sight. With that said, Izuna flew away from the room, passing right through the door, as if she were a ghost. Then what is your plan for today? Perhaps we could go to the library, and finish up that book you've started. Akagi suggested, tilting her head to her left a little bit. Maybe, but I don't feel like reading anymore. Let's just go for a stroll. Maybe some fresh air will help me up. Naruto said, and went out of his room, with Akagi following closely. Sneaking out of the room and house was easy, as Mibuki wasn't really paying attention to him, and strangely enough, muttering something about being denied what was rightfully her, and so on. Whatever she was on about, Naruto didn't care about it, and simply left the house with Akagi, but not before waving his sister, and cheering her up with a funny face. Once outside, Naruto began to walk down the streets, with Akagi deciding to cast a spell over Naruto, which would make him seemingly invisible towards others. As Naruto had learned, yokai aren't just for show, and they do have their own tricks up their sleeves, which they can utilize. This was what people would call magic, but for them it was just as natural as any other jutsu. And this simple spell was one of the easier ones to learn, according to Akagi, but very effective, as not even sensors would be able to detect you while you are under that cloak, allowing you to move and speak freely. You do have to be careful not to bump or touch anyone outside the cloak, or they'll immediately see you. Akagi knew that Naruto, while he didn't show it, felt upset and bad when people projected their bad emotions on him, so she took to the habit of casting this cloak over him when they were out on the walk together. This was just one of many ways in which Akagi took care of Naruto, as she had done for almost all of his life that she guarded him. Another way was through being a confidant of his, and letting him spill out his feelings, just as she felt he needed to do right now. Naruto, are you alright? Akagi spoke to him, as they moved along the street, avoiding passing by people, and yokai. I've noticed that you've been brooding a bit more than usual. Well, I do not mind observing you do that out of aesthetic pleasure, it does make me worry about you. Is this about your parents starting to train Natsu and Narumi? Not really, at least not completely about training them, Naruto said in an unsure tone. It's just I just don't get it really. You do not understand the reason for them training your brother and sister so early, and not doing the same with you? Akagi asked him, with Naruto nodding to her. I may not know your parents all too well, but from what I've observed over years, I've come to understand that your parents are biased towards you and your siblings, though in different ways. Care to elaborate on that? Naruto asked her. Your mother and father have always been like this, maybe because of your siblings containing the nine-tailed monster inside of them, or maybe because the two are so apparent in their personalities, I can't say with full certainty. Akagi spoke up. But what I can say is that Kushina and Minato have much higher hopes for them than they do for you, and that no small part of their bias comes from the influence of your godparents and other important people. Naruto cocked up his eyebrow at the mention of the two Sanins, before returning it to normal, as the mention of the two didn't leave a good taste in his mouth. Tsunade and Jiraiya were often guests in their house, with the latter being there almost every other day when he was in the village, and not doing whatever he did. And whenever they were in the house, the two would always focus their attention on Natsu and Narumi, with Tsunade boasting how she will train Narumi to be her next successor, while Jiraiya was prattling on about how Natsu will be the next great sage after him. All the while, whenever Naruto had tried to get their attention, he would get far different reactions from them. Jiraiya would always try to wave him off, with Naruto sensing that the man wasn't just interested in Naruto, but felt that even talking to him was a waste of time. Naruto also sensed no small amount of disappointment from Jiraiya for seemingly no reason whatsoever, which when combined with earlier felt emotions, had left Naruto with a negative impression of Jiraiya. As for Tsunade, she seemed weird to Naruto, because whenever he approached her, he would see her lash out verbally at him, saying that she didn't want anything to do with him, but while he did sense anger from her, he also sensed regret, sadness, and a feeling of loss. It was as if Naruto's presence was far too painful for Tsunade to endure. This was something that Naruto couldn't fully comprehend, so he didn't have a fully formed opinion about Tsunade just yet. However, just because of how obnoxious and temperamental she was at times, Naruto could see that she wasn't the type that would get along with him well. And Naruto could totally see the Sanins and other people influencing his parents, because he already knew and understood that they were a little gullible in their trust in others. Just look at Nabuki being placed in charge of taking care of Mito, and that's just one thing. His parents constantly heard praises from others about his brother and sister for no apparent reason, and they took it all without a second thought. And then there are the Sanins. They clearly favored his siblings, and that wasn't even all that hard to notice, but his parents, they just didn't seem to notice it at all. His father and mother felt some kind of special reverence towards the Sanins, especially towards Jiraiya, since Naruto himself was named after one of the fictional characters that the man wrote. Just out of interest, Naruto read the story himself when he found it in the library, and to be quite honest, that book had left something of a two-sided impression. On one hand, he did like the main character and his resolve, but overall, the antagonists and the setting, it all seemed to work almost always in the favor of the hero, and everything was too white and black. Maybe Naruto's dislike stemmed from the fact of his preference towards other genres of literature or something else, but overall, he didn't like the book, and he didn't see why his parents would name him like that. Perhaps they were under a more profound impression from the book and character. Who knows? Yeah, I can see them being influenced by them, but still, why are Natsu and Narumi getting so much spotlight? Naruto asked Akagi. Because most humans aren't as perceptive as they like to state they are. Akagi replied to Naruto with a knowing tone. Do you know how a cat gets a person's attention? It meows and makes noises. Naruto answered. Are you implying that because Natsu and Narumi are so active and outgoing that they get all the attention from everyone? That would be part of the reason, but not the entire one, no. Akagi said to Naruto. Humans have a certain tendency to be blind towards those that they revere and worship, not fully realizing the whole picture. Let's take for instance your father, Minato Namikaze, the so-called Yellow Flash, and a man that had single-handedly ended the war with the Wagakure, as the humans say. Now what was the most deciding battle in the conflict, Naruto? The Battle of Northern Ridge, where a third of Iowa's invasion force was wiped out by him. Naruto answered. Yes, that is correct, but would like to know how Minato managed to gain victory for Konoha on that day. Akagi asked, with Naruto nodding to her. Well then, the history books may have stated that the battle was won thanks to your father's intervention, but in reality it wasn't all that cut and dry. The Wagakure had been forced into a prolonged engagement before that battle officially took place, when they tried to pass that ridge, since it was defended by members of Clan Ai, once a numerous and respected clan of this village, but now reduced to just 2 members. Do you know how they've met their end? They stopped the advance of Aiwa's forces, and held them back, despite being outnumbered. Naruto asked. Correct, and even I, a kitsune with no particular love for humans, have to give credit where it is due. Those men and women, some 200 shinobi clad in bright red armor, held the line for 4 days straight against an army of over 2,500 shinobi. Outnumbered, with no lines of communication whatsoever, and no retreat, they've managed to inflict such casualties, that 3rd Tsuchikage was forced to send reinforcements to keep the offensive going, and by the end of the 4th day, he himself came to the battle battered, injured, exhausted, and weakened to the point where it should have been impossible for them to continue fighting, yet they still stood their ground. Tsuchikage personally vaporized them with his jutsu, but he then also ordered all the bodies and armor of the clan. The bodies were buried in a mass grave not far from Ridge, while armor was sent back to village. Only a few days later, when Konoha's reinforcing battalion had reached the ridge, they were met with over 1,000 of Aiwa shinobi, who were also battered, tired, and ill-equipped for further offense, yet the unprepared Konoha shinobi were overwhelmed, and then came your father. So the foundation of that victory, and end of the conflict with Iwa, was brought thanks to the sacrifice of Clan Ai, but nobody seems to talk about them. What became of them after the war? Naruto asked. The clan had lost the majority of its members, and when Kurama got out of your mother, it killed practically all the rest of Ai clansmen, when one of his tails had crushed their estate, where non-combatants were, while warriors were killed in action. The Kage told Naruto. Only one member of the clan survived, a young woman by the name of Nator, and only because she was on the border duty. When she returned, she found out the fate of her clan, and how she was left with nothing. After this, she quit being a shinobi, and had adopted a son, called Namasa, whom she now raises. I see what you were implying, that the truth of the matter may be deeper, and not so obvious to the eye, right? Naruto asked, with the Kage giggling a little. And this is exactly why I adore you, Naruto. You are able to see better, unlike the humans who can't often see past their noses, but you just like to take your time, and examine something thoroughly. Ah, when you grow up, I would so very much like to be an object of your examination. The Kage suggestively stated, forgetting about the fact that she spoke with a 5-year-old child. You're like an open book, the Kage, though it is good, and I'm glad to know you. You don't hold anything back, and say what you feel, and what you think about, which is better than what most others do. Naruto replied to her. Still, it doesn't exactly answer the question I had in mind. My dear Naruto, to fully answer the question you've imposed upon yourself about your siblings, you would need to learn to read the minds of others, if you want the clearest picture possible. All I can say is that you shouldn't always try and comprehend the reasons behind everyone's actions and thoughts. The Kage told Naruto, who seemed to be in a somewhat thinking process. I know that you may be wondering, if you were to become more like your siblings, then would your parents pay more attention to you, and all I have to say to this is that you would be making a real fool out of yourself. Despite what humans may say about you, Naruto, you are far from the fool they claim you to be. You are idealistic, true, a little naive, certainly, but you are also someone who thinks about things, and does not accept them at face value. You don't just follow the crowd's instinct, you stand out, and that is good. You are unique, and that is what is important. Thanks, Akagi. Naruto said with a small smile, before releasing a smile. At least you, and other kitsune, seem to acknowledge me for who I am, and not judge upon it or something, unlike my parents. Well, if they don't care about their son when he doesn't meet their expectations, then how about you think of it in this way? Why should you care about them when they don't meet your expectations? The Kage suggested, with Naruto turning his head to the fox. They don't seem to care about you or your interests, so why should you strive to impress them? They are my parents, the Kage, my mother, and father. Isn't it natural for children to want their parents to be proud of them? Naruto asked her. Besides, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be born in this world. That may be so, but I mean that while it may seem important, why don't you think about why it is so important? The Kage suggested to Naruto, before letting out an audible sigh. Naruto, family isn't just blood relations and membership in some clan. Take it after someone who lived for over 50 decades. Family are people that care for you, and who accept you for not what you are trying to be for them, but simply because of who you are, with all your flaws and peculiarities. To try and change for someone else's sake isn't a worthwhile goal, believe me. I accept you, and to me, you are already a family. Humans may have a different understanding of family, but to me, this is how it is. Then I'm glad to be a part of your family, Akagi, thank you. Naruto seemed more cheered up now. I'll think about what you said, Naruto said, before the two had stopped, finding themselves in front of a certain forested area on the outskirts of Konoha. The Forest of Death was located quite some ways away from the village proper, and was surrounded by fences and closed gates, as well as warning signs, so as to keep civilians and most shinobi out of that area. It was designated as one of the most dangerous places not just in Konoha, but in all of the Land of Fire, because of the dangerous and strange wildlife, man-eating plants, and all other things that made that forest so dangerous. That's not to mention the fact that despite encompassing only 10 kilometers in radius, it was not uncommon for people to get lost in the forest and not be seen again. Trees, plantation, and so forth were bigger and stronger than normal counterparts, and because of that no untrained shinobi or genin would go there without a purpose. This had also made this forest into an ideal place to sort out the majority of genins that took the Chunin exams in Konoha. It was quite easy to stumble upon the remains of some unlucky shinobi in the forest, at least those that weren't eaten by the forest dwellers. But that wasn't what had stopped Naruto, it was what he saw coming from the very forest itself, and the feeling he was getting from it. He sensed an intense, near-overwhelming anger, mixed in with hatred and indignation. It was almost as if the forest itself was alive, and was a yokai of sorts, one that wanted to get out and be free, but for some reason couldn't, and that made the forest mad. Naruto also felt extreme hatred towards humans, one that seemed so strong that it practically permeated its entirety. Along with that, Naruto could have sworn that he could hear screams of humans coming from the forest itself, cries for help, and of anguish, making him shake a little bit. The Kage sensed that something was wrong, and when she realized what it was, she instantly cast it over the two of them, a calming aura, which returned Naruto to his normal self. As he regained his breath, he turned towards Akagi and spoke up. Akagi, what is wrong with this force? It's like it is alive, and is so full of hatred and malice, and those people. Naruto was still in somewhat of a shock, but was overcoming it. That forest is a manifestation of a kami that used to rule these lands, long before one you call Hashirama Senju had found his village here. Akagi stated to Naruto, who turned with a questioning look to her. Remember what I told you about the difference between a kami and a yokai, Naruto. That a kami is a yokai that isn't worshipped as one, and that yokai that is a kami that isn't worshipped as a yokai. Naruto answered, before turning back towards the forest. So the forest of death is literally a giant yokai, or rather kami. More like a manifestation of that kami's power, like we kitsune manifests our power in through tails or fires, but you are not too far off the base. Akagi explained to Naruto. Long before shinobi had arrived here to settle, this land belonged to a particularly powerful kami, Mariko no Kami. While most of us yokai do possess a certain affinity for a specific element, Mariko no Kami manifested herself, as with powers to command the nature and elements that were inherent to it, such as water and earth, as well as some others that combined one and two, like wood. This kami was worshipped by the people that resided here before war came to these lands between Senju and Uchiha. In exchange for worship and respect, Mariko no Kami gifted them with the most fertile lands in all of the country, a strong and plentiful harvest, and more. However, when shinobi did come into this area, they've driven all those that worshipped her from here, even desecrating her shrines with blood in the process. That must have made her extremely mad. Naruto commented. That is what we kitsune call an understatement. Natsumi was furious at the humans that had dared to defile her lands with their wars, and in return she made life for them here not easy. You think Forest of Death is bad enough? Try to imagine such a place encompassing all the area and territories where Konoha now stands. Akagi told him, with Naruto shuddering at the thought. Eventually, however, when the Hidden Leaf was about to be established for good, Hashirama Senju, along with Madara Uchiha and Mito Uzumaki, had approached Mariko no Kami and asked for her permission to build their village. I do not know all of the details, but I do know that it was Mito Uzumaki that had managed to convince Natsumi to let shinobi establish their village on her lands. In exchange, she was promised that no more blood will be spilled in her lands, and that her shrines shall be cleared of desecrations by holy waters from 3 different mountains. For a time, the peace between men and kami lasted, but it was, unfortunately, broken by humans. What had happened? Naruto asked. What happened when the hidden villages were all established, and when Hashirama Senju decided to trade the captured tailed monsters to those villages? War. Akagi told him. More destruction and blood came into these lands, and Natsumi was obviously not pleased, and started to once again go against humans. That forced Hashirama Senju to venture into the heart of her holdings, and to confront her once again, but this time in a battle. Nobody now knows the full details, but I do know that Mariko no Kami was sealed permanently inside her domain, which is now used by humans as a weeding out ground. That Hashirama Senju never returned from that forest. Wait, you mean to tell me that the first Hokage was murdered by Mariko no Kami? Naruto asked in shock. Killed? I wouldn't be so certain, for Mariko no Kami is a particularly malicious kami when angered. She may still keep him alive, if only to torture him for her own amusement, but do keep in mind that despite that, she isn't an inheritably malicious kami. If anything, before the coming of shinobi, she was actually a very kind and caring kami, one that protected her worshippers and people that passed through her forests. Akagi stated to Naruto. Though after decades of imprisonment and being turned into a meat grinder for humans, her attitude had shifted towards more of an angered kami, and if it wasn't for our Tenko, we, humans, and yokai, would have to deal with the kitchen, whose powers would rival those of Yamada no Orochi. What does your Tenko do to her, exactly? Every time once the exams are over, or when she has time, she comes here to exorcise the souls of the dead that were left behind, letting them pass away into Yomi. Along with that, she cleanses the forest of the malignant energies that were left due to all of the fighting. Akagi told Naruto. Thanks to this, Mariko no Kami can be calmed down a bit, and a threat to us all averted. As I recall, Tenko is currently there, performing the exorcising rites, as we speak. Really? I wish I could see it myself. Naruto said wishfully. Both Tenko and rites themselves. Maybe someday in the future, until then we best Naruto, hide behind that tree, now. Akagi immediately ordered Naruto to do so, and so he did, even though he did not understand why she asked him to do so. His understanding came sooner than later, when he saw how a trio of Inizuka shinobi with their dogs, landed near one of the entrances to the forest, looking rather suspicious, and seemingly on edge. Naruto was glad that Akagi put a hiding cloak around them, so it was safe to assume they were well hidden, so they observed what was going to happen. In the next minute, they saw how another trio of shinobi, wearing the red uniform of Iwa, landed near the Inizuka shinobi, and went to them. Both Naruto and Akagi were close enough to hear the exchange between them. So, have you brought us what we've asked? The leader of Iwa shinobi asked, before scooping out from his pocket a scroll. Just keep in mind that while this information pays well, if we find out it to be a dud, then we'll make sure your Hokage knows who has been his village's routes of supply and stations on the borders. Yeah, we know all about it. Not the first time we've been doing the business. Here. The leader of Inuzuka threw the Iwa ninja his scroll. Got something real special for you this time, so you better pay up more. And what would that be? The Iwa leader opened up the scroll and read quickly before closing. And how did you come by such a valuable piece of information? Well, we've got our own ways of getting the information. Anyway, something like that is worth at least double the usual payment. Inuzuka grinned with greed written all over his face before the scroll with payment was tossed to him. Hey, and where is the rest? This is serious stuff, something that can get our whole clan in serious trouble, and we risked our necks for you here. No, you've risked it because you were easy to buy. This is for now, and once we confirm if the information is genuine, we'll pay double that, got it? The Iwa leader stated to them, should this be fake, then this payment will have to go to your funeral. Wait, did you hear that? The Iwa leader suddenly said, making everyone turn towards one of the gates, only to see that the wind was moving the chains on it. Naruto let out a relieved sigh, thankful that they weren't spotted yet, but unfortunately, it was then that his luck ran out. With his curiosity gaining over his common sense, Naruto moved just a tiny bit closer to the group, not noticing a small tree branch underneath his foot. Once he shifted his foot a little, the branch broke with a resounding sound, breaking the cloak that Akagi had put up around him. The moment it happened, Naruto instantly turned around and was ready to run, but he was far too late. He smashed into one of the Iwa ninjas before falling onto the ground and crawling away in fear as he was surrounded. Well, look at this, boys. We've got ourselves a little eavesdropper here. Now, didn't your mommy ever tell you that you shouldn't eavesdrop on other people talking? Iwa leader said mockingly, before grabbing Naruto by his hair and bringing him closer to him. So, what should we do with him? Perhaps we'll just drop you off in that forest of death and have the wildlife take care of you. Hey, stop, just slow down for a second there. One of Inuzuka said. That kid, it's one of Hokage's brats, the full one. Oh, so this is one of Yellow Flash's own mutts. The Iwa leader said, taking a closer look at Naruto. Yeah, you definitely look like that yellow bastard. Looks like we've just won ourselves a jackpot, guys. Now, don't you worry, little brat, we won't be hurting you, at least for now. You'll actually be coming on an adventure with us, straight to our village, where that was the point at which something completely unexpected for all shinobi had happened, as the head of the Iwa leader was suddenly blasted with fire from behind, forcing him to drop Naruto. The very next moment all of the ninja turned around and saw Akagi, now manifested in the physical realm, looking just like she did in spiritual form, only now she was as big as an ox. She snarled and waved her 5 tails around menacingly, ready to pounce and kill all of them for even thinking about hurting Naruto. What the hell is this? Is that 9 tails? One of the ninjas cried out of fear. No you fool, but it's definitely not a normal fox. Damn it, it must be connected to the brat, since he's got those weird eyes. Get him. Inuzuka commanded, with him and his leaping at Akagi. With a roar that could rival that of Kyuubi, Akagi didn't waste time with these mutts, since not only she hated Nikins and Inuzuka, due to the fact of latter training the former via hunting foxes, which were Akagi's friends, but she had her dearest in danger here. The first that leapt onto Akagi herself was grabbed by one of her tails, before being slammed into the ground, with the vice breaking the back of that dog. The 2 others that followed were literally swept away by her other tails, which were ablaze with her summoned fire, burning, and setting the fur of those beasts on fire. The intensity and power of Kitsune fire was enough to burn through Chakra's steel, so fur, flesh, and bones of those beasts were little trouble for Akagi's fire. The next thing that had happened, Akagi was hit on her head with some form of spinning attack, making the fox stagger and move back before regaining her bearings. She sensed that the Inuzuka were preparing to make another attack on her like this, and this time Akagi was ready. Just before it connected, Akagi's left forward foot moved before striking the moving Inuzuka and launching to his right before spewing fire from her mouth to incinerate her. The 2 others decided to double team on Akagi, but fueled with rage and anger, she was able to repel their initial assault from her side. Just as they prepared to strike one more time, she extended her tails and grabbed a hold of them both before they could move. With another bout of roar, her tails became whips of fire and incinerated the captured Inuzuka, and now Akagi was prepared to deal with Iwa ninja, until a clear child's cry of pain resonated through the clearing, instantly sobering Akagi from her bloodlust and bringing her to look at her Naruto. She saw how deep in his knee was wedged a kunai, with blood already dripping out of the wound, while he was now being held by one of Iwa's shinobi, the kunai close to Naruto's throat. The 2 others were slowly retreating closer to the boy, with the leader speaking up. Okay, you demon, you don't want us to hurt the boy, now do you? The leader moved the kunai a little bit closer to Naruto's neck, making the tiniest scratch on it, riling up Akagi even further. If you manfuls dare to kill him, I swear that I'll see your village razed to the ground, with all your people served as ashes to salt the earth. Akagi spoke to them, scaring the Iowa shinobi, but she didn't make a move on them just yet. So you can talk. And no, don't worry, we won't kill him. He is now far too valuable to us now. Clearly, Lord Fourth had deceived everyone when stated that he made 2 Jinchuriki, when in reality he had made a 3rd one, as well. The Iowa leader stated with glee in his eyes. And it's all ours now. That child is no vessel for any tailed beast, and this is no tailed beast, a Wagakure ninja. You are dealing with a kitsune. A new regal and powerful voice spoke up, drawing the attention of everyone to his source, revealing it to be Amagi, walking towards them from the left of Akagi. Amagi-ni-sama. Please, Naruto. Akagi spoke to Amagi, with Amagi simply raising her hand to calm her down. I'll take care of this, Akagi. Do not worry. Amagi assured her, as she locked eyes with the Iowa leader. I give you one chance, Iowa ninja. Release this child, and flee, or I will make you pay for hurting him. And just what do you think you can do, huh? You are just a pretty woman, and we've got the Jinchuriki, so one of Iowa's shinobi stated, before both him and his friend next to him suddenly became engulfed in blue fire, leaving them not even a chance to cry out of pain. A second prior, Amagi's eyes had glowed with dim golden light, as she casted her spell upon the fools. The leader looked shocked at what had just transpired, before looking back at Amagi. Teach, this is a trick. Why, you've got us locked in Kai. Yet nothing had happened or changed. Kai. He tried again and again, to no avail. You have until I count to 3 to release him. When Amagi told him, and just as she counted to 1, the man decided to simply run. Dropping Naruto without a care, he dashed to the opposite direction of where Amagi and Akagi stood, until he suddenly stopped, feeling a blade wedged right between his ribs, and plunged deep into his heart. Once the blade was removed, the body of the man dropped down, and Tomoichi stepped over him, moving to Naruto's unconscious form, with Amagi joining her. She carefully removed the kunai from his knee, before beginning to disinfect the wound via the first aid kit she carried with her in a seal, a habit from her time in service. Wound's not as deep as I feared, so he'll be fine. A scare may remain, but that is nothing too serious. Tomo concluded her analyses, as she cleaned the wound. Just supply a band-aid for now, Tomo. I will heal Naruto in my temple, and there we can finally introduce ourselves to him. Amagi told Tomo, who was glad that Amagi had finally relented. Finally, it took you long enough. We should have talked to him long ago, right when he first confirmed to us that he could see Yakai. Tomo stated to her friend, with Amagi releasing a slightly strained sigh. What about the bodies? Akagi will take care of them, will she? Amagi saw how Akagi nodded, and went to eliminate the traces of a fight ever taking place here. Still, it is concerning that Konoha shinobi would be so willing to sell their own comrades for a quick profit. Treason and bribery were always a part of shinobi life, and those were in Izuka, the reckless and short-sighted kind, who gave in to their baser instincts of greed and ambitions. I've had to kill more than a few of Inizuka turncoats during the last war. Tomo confirmed for Amagi, as she finished her work with Naruto. There, that should do it. Now, let's head for the temple. Several hours later. Inari's temple in Konoha. The first thing that Naruto had realized when he finally started to wake up was the fact that he was sleeping on something very soft and fluffy, and that he was really warm. Once he started to open up his eyes, he also noticed that he was covered in what appeared to be large foxtails, covering his body and acting as a sort of bed, pillow, and sheets. When he used his hand to stroke one of the tails, he immediately heard a response in the form of a moan, coming from above him, making Naruto look up. Then he came face to face with a very beautiful woman, who possessed red-like ruby's eyes, long dark brown hair, and also a pair of fox ears on top of her head, coupled with red makeup around her eyes. She was dressed in an open black coat with golden features on it, and a white shirt underneath, coupled with red mini-skirt, and black stockings, which left nothing to the imagination when it came to her bust, hips, and legs, though it was still covering it. For a moment, Naruto could have swore he was looking at Akagi in what he imagined would be her human form, though he didn't know if kitsune were capable of becoming humans. The woman smiled at him softly, and caressed her cheek with her hands softly. Did you sleep well, Naruto? Now Naruto was certain that this was Akagi in human form, for it was her voice. I thought you might get cold sleeping, so I've decided to make you a bed out of my tails. Do you like them? Why yeah, they're soft, and very warm. Naruto answered honestly, with Akagi being instantly pleased with the answer. Akagi. Yes? She instantly responded, locking her eyes with Naruto. Is something the matter? If you want, you can sleep a little bit more. Don't worry, I'll keep watch over you, and I find myself unable to pull my tails from you. TCH, of course you couldn't keep your tails away from him. Came a more serious, colder tone, with another fox girl revealing herself to Naruto. Unlike Akagi, this girl had white hair and white-colored fur on her 5 tails, while she dressed in a white open coat with blue features on the sleeves, just like with Akagi, while sporting a black shirt underneath, covering far more of her cleavage, but still proving a peek at her generous assets. Her skirt was just slightly longer, and blue in color, with white leggings covering her legs. In figure, she could compete with Akagi in every department, as she looked just as beautiful, with her short white hair, blue eyes with red makeup near them. She had something that resembled a small scowl at Akagi, who simply giggled at the girl's irritation. Kaga, there's no need for you to scowl like that. There is plenty of room for both of us, and I'm sure Naruto will appreciate your soft white fur just as much as he enjoys my own right now. Akagi suggested with a light-hearted tone, with Naruto widening his eyes, realizing that he looked at another kitsune that was a regular guest to him, Kaga. Kaga was one of the kitsune that most often visited and watched over him, rivaling Akagi in that department. Where Akagi seemed more light-hearted and easy to get along with, at least for Naruto, Kaga was the serious and nearly no-nonsense type, one that seemed fully focused on her duty and didn't like to deviate from it, at least at the first glance. Despite her cold exterior, she was caring and affectionate towards Naruto, as well as one of the main teachers to Naruto when it came to his education. Once Kitsune discovered that Naruto was capable of perceiving them and communicating with them, Kaga took it upon herself to educate the boy, first in reading and later in various sciences. In her mind, a child, and a person that was illiterate, despite being a child, was weak and not worth anything, so Kaga started to teach Naruto. Thanks to her, Naruto was able to learn how to read just a month after starting, as well as to write, and more, before moving on to maths, literature, sciences, and language. Being a demanding, strict, and also a very effective teacher that she was, Kaga managed to make Naruto into a rather intelligent person, despite him being a little child. Still, while he did get lots of headaches, and was more than often exhausted, Naruto was still far better off in the knowledge and intelligence department than his siblings. They may have started to train in chakra, but when it came to reading, let's just say that if Naruto wanted to hide from them for all of eternity, he could do so safely in the library, where he now practically lived, in no small part thanks to Kaga. Along with her strict personality, she was also a sister to Akagi, though he never did learn who the older sibling was. While they got along famously, complimenting each other well, Naruto was a witness to when the two kitsune were arguing with each other, with him being the reason for it. And if his sense of danger was correct, now was one such time. You have always been too lax with your duties, Akagi. Had it not been for you, Naruto wouldn't get hurt in the first place. You should feel ashamed of yourself, letting some humans get an upper hand on you. Kaga chastised her sister. Had he been with me, no one would have as much as lay a hand on him. Perhaps I should request Amagini-sama to be put in charge of protecting Naruto more often, if not on a permanent basis. That got a visible tick out of Akagi, and a reaction, as she gently removed her tails from Naruto, letting them both rise up, with Naruto moving away from the two sisters. Kaga, aren't you getting a little bit full of yourself? Akagi asked her in a not-so-malicious manner. Because, as far as I can recall, I've never, ever, been lax in my work to look after Naruto, and, as for what had happened, there wasn't any way to anticipate that such a thing would happen. And besides, I've had everything perfectly under control. Such a situation shouldn't have been allowed to happen, sister. Kaga retorted. Yet not only did you not properly defend him, but you've even allowed him to get injured, and nearly captured. It is obvious that what Naruto requires is a disciplined and dedicated caretaker. Perhaps one who, for instance, had taught him how to write and read, and who scared Naruto every time that said teacher got into an ill mood. Akagi asked back, with Kaga's brow twitching, and her tails starting to swing a little more erratically. Did you know that I've always managed to calm him down, and make him go to your lessons when you scared him? Had it not been for me, our dear Naruto might have grown afraid of books and writing, especially with how you worked with him. Yet I was the one who taught him the value of knowledge, intelligence, and reading, unlike you, who seemed perfectly fine with him going illiterate, just like his siblings. Kaga retorted to her sister, with now Kagi's tails starting to swing more. With me, Naruto discovered what a treasure of knowledge is, and because of this, he is far better prepared for the world than his siblings. Maybe you should go and watch over them, dear sister. Oh no, I wouldn't want to deprive you of the opportunity to teach those brats what it means to be afraid of holding a book. So why don't we go and show them the value of traumatizing education? Akagi suggested, with Kaga narrowing her eyes upon her sister. We'll be here perfectly fine, waiting for you. Me and Naruto, alone, and without any interference. So that he would get attacked again. Not a chance. Kaga stated with force. And besides, Naruto must be getting tired of your presence. Maybe he would prefer to spend time with a fox that knows how to restrain herself in front of a 5-year-old child. Or maybe he would like to be with a kitsune that makes 5-year-old children read books that are studied by upperclassmen in schools. Akagi asked with steel in her voice. And besides, it is obvious that Naruto prefers to be with me over someone as cold as you are. After all, he did state that my fur and tails are the finest. Now Kaga was truly starting to get angry. Liar, he simply said that they were fluffy and warm, nothing more. Kaga spoke back, before smirking a little. But that is just the first time he had to touch a kitsune's tail, and naturally he would be impressed, even if it's the tail of a lousy kitsune such as yourself. Naturally, once he gets a taste of my soft, snow-white fur, there will be no contest as to which kitsune he would most likely want to be. Oh ho, as if you would ever get warm with your tails, sister. I mean, the way you are always so stiff and cold, I fear he might catch a cold from just touching them. The Kage said with strength in her words, before starting to glare at her sister. So do not get in the way, Kage. I am perfectly capable of taking care of Naruto. How funny, I was about to say the same thing, Akagi. Kage started with a glare, and Naruto was starting to get afraid that the two might be getting ready to fight. That would have been the case, had the door into the room not opened, and stepped Amagi with a seemingly calm look on her face. Both Akagi and Kage stopped their glaring match to turn, and look at her approaching them. Amagi ni-sama Akagi was about to speak up, before Amagi suddenly whacked Akagi on the head with her right arm, making younger Kitsune yelp out of pain, and grab her head with her hands, with a visible bump already there. Nisama, as Kage was about to defend her position here, she received the same procedure from Amagi, leaving her clutching her head, and nursing a new large bump on it with her sister in a near identical position. Akagi, Kage, how many times have I told you not to fight each other? Sisters should get along no matter what their personalities may be, and fighting is no good way to make friends. Amagi started with a sagely wisdom, before softly taking Akagi and Kage right hands. Now, shake hands, and apologize to each other. Or else the moment Amagi said that, Naruto could have sworn that the temperature in the room dropped to 0, and both Akagi and Kage shivered. I am sorry, dear sister. Akagi and Kage said at the same time, and shook hands, their argument forgotten already, with Amagi's smile dawning upon her face. That's better. Now, could you two please give me and Naruto some privacy, and tell Tomo to come here? Amagi asked Kage and Akagi, with both nodding to Amagi, and leaving Naruto alone in the room with Amagi, who turned to Naruto, and smiled softly to him. I apologize for how they behaved just now. They are wonderful sisters to have, and love them dearly, but there are times when I have to remind them of how to behave. I hope they haven't scared you, Naruto. No, they didn't. Naruto answered, as took a good look at Amagi, and nearly had to close his eyes. Both Kage and Akagi exuded powerful auras around them, with Kage's being blue in color, while Akagi's red, and both had evenly matched intensity and power. But when Naruto looked at Amagi, it was like he was fully surrounded and encompassed in her aura of soft, warming, and radiant power. It was as if Naruto was in the middle of the forest of death, only instead of feeling rage and murder, he felt calmness, safety, and love. Naruto didn't know if this was what a god Akami felt like, but he had a feeling that Amagi was far more than just a kitsune. Are you also a kitsune? Naruto asked in an unsure voice, with Amagi softly smiling at him. Where are my manners? I'm sorry, though I saw you first quite some time ago, we haven't yet been properly introduced yet. Amagi said gracefully, before stepping closer to Naruto, and revealing to him her kitsune ears, and nine tails chocolate brown colored fur. Naruto, it is my pleasure to finally meet you officially. My name is Amagi, and I am a priestess, and servant to goddess Inari, as well as a kitsune. But you may already know me by my official title Tenko. Amagi no Tenko. Amagi no Tenko. Wait, does that mean that you are the one who told Akagi, Kage, and other kitsune to look after me? Naruto asked Amagi, with her nodding to him. But why exactly did you do that? From what I understand, kitsune are yokai known for protecting people, unless those are their family. Yes, you are correct in that, Naruto. There's a reason for this, but first I would like for us to take a seat and wait for my friend to arrive. Please. Amagi motioned for Naruto to sit before the small table, with her sitting in front of him. A minute after they were seated, the door slid to the side, revealing Tomoe Chiha stepping inside, in her usual garments, and with her sword near her side. She took a closer look at Naruto, briefly wondering if her son would have looked like that, had he been allowed to live. Deciding not to get too lost in the past, she shook off her thoughts about Masamune, and focused on the present. She took a seat next to Amagi, prompting her to speak up. Naruto, this is my friend, Tomoe Chiha. You may not remember it, but the two of you had met when you were just born. Amagi said with a smile. I remember you, Naruto suddenly said, much to the surprise of both women. I think I do. You were in the hospital, back when I was really small, and you always kept me company when nobody was around. Thank you, it was really scary, being there alone. I'm surprised you remember something from back then. Tomo admitted to Naruto with a small smile. You were less than a week old at that point, not to mention suffering from an ailment. And you don't need to thank me, I was only doing what I thought was right, and seeing a little baby all alone in that room didn't sit well with me. You did it just because I was alone there, and nobody was there to help me, without any possible reward or something like that. Naruto asked Tomo, with her nodding. Then you are better than most people I know, and definitely far better than my sister's caretaker. Wait, how long have I been out cold? Naruto asked with worry. A little over an hour, don't worry. I've been informed by Izuna that none have caught on to you being absent yet. Amagi assured him. And yes, Mibuki is still in the house, while your parents and siblings have decided to take a break, and head for a ramen stand they like so much. Did they at least take Mito with them? No, wait, if Mibuki is in the house, then they decided to leave Mito alone with that harpy. Naruto let out a frustrated sigh. They could have at least taken Mito out for a walk, instead of leaving her with Mibuki. You don't seem particularly concerned with the fact that your parents haven't asked about your whereabouts, do you? Tomo asked out of curiosity. I know that your parents have decided to train your older siblings while leaving you out of it. Don't you feel angry and slighted for not being included in this? No, not really angry. Well, maybe a bit sad that they stopped paying attention to me as much as they did, but not really angry. I mean, I get it that they need to be trained earlier to better control Nine Tails chakra, and that starting out early is better. Naruto told the two. I angrier at the fact that they almost forgot about Mito, and instead brought in that woman. She doesn't even care what happens to me. Yes, I too would like to ask what place your mother was thinking when she decided to ask Mabuki Haruno of all people to sit with her daughter. I mean, that woman had been after Minato since academy days, and had always hated your mother, without hiding it all that much. Tomo told Naruto. It must make her sick to see Kushina with Minato's children, and to be forced to sit with the youngest one. I don't know what she has in mind, but I doubt it's something good. I'd wager it's got something to do with politics or something like that. Then it is a good thing that Izuna is there, and watches over Mito. If something were to happen, either Kage or Kagi would be able to get there within a minute's notice. Amagi assured them. Now, I am afraid that we'll have to change the subject of our discussion. Naruto, you've asked me why I've tasked my kitsune with watching over you. Well, the reason for that comes from the fact that you are a special person, not like most humans. I am certain you can already guess what I mean by that. You mean the fact that I can see yakai, and also understand what people feel, and when they lie to me? Naruto asked, with Amagi nodding to him. Well, maybe it's some kind of Uzumaki ability of Uzumaki, or from my father. Something like my mom's chakra chains or Naruto, if a yakai wants to, will become impossible to perceive for any human, whether they have a Sharingan, Byakugan or even a Rinnegan. I can attest to that fact, because I too couldn't perceive yakai, until Amagi had taught me how to perceive them, and the spiritual realm. Tomo stated to Naruto. And there are no other taijutsu that can allow a person to perceive yakai, and the realm they live in. But you, Naruto, are different, because you were gifted with such an ability. Gifted? You mean, someone gave it to me? Naruto asked them, with Amagi and Tomo nodding to him. Yes, Naruto, you were gifted this power, along with several others by not just anybody, but by deities themselves. Amagi stated to him, surprising Naruto. 3 deities have decided to bestow their blessings and essences upon you. Those 3 were Izanami, goddess of creation and death, Parvati, a goddess with 3 separate aspects, which include Durga, goddess of war and protector against evil, Kali, goddess of destruction and death, and Parvati herself, goddess of love and fertility. But the one who gifted you your unique perception is Shiva, god of creation and destruction. I was there, and was a witness to it taking place, Naruto. 3 deities beat, but why would they do something like that? Naruto asked Amagi. I'm not someone as special as Natsu and Narumi, and I don't have the Kyuubi in me, so why did they do something like that to me? We don't fully know, but it may have something to do with the fact that you've been branded by the Shinigami. Tomo spoke up. On the night Kyuubi attacked, and you were born, I helped your father by stopping Kyuubi for long enough to let Minato do what he wanted to. He used a jutsu that summoned a Shinigami into our world, and it separated the beast into 2, and placed the 2 halves into your siblings. Now, normally to even summon a Shinigami into our world would mean that the summoner pays with his life, but something went wrong that night, and instead of Minato getting his soul eaten by Shinigami, you ended up branded by it. Branded by it, is this why I was dying back then? Naruto asked. Yes, the brand was slowly taking away your soul, piece by piece. It is an especially cruel and horrific thing for any person to come to possess, and, as far as I know, only very few people have ever been branded. And only one person has ever survived getting it removed. You. Amagi told Naruto, who sat quietly, thinking about it all. However, while the brand was gone, your soul was already so weak and small that you wouldn't have survived much longer. And that was when the deities came, and they shared some of their essences, their own souls, with you Naruto, so that you may survive. The sign of it you see all the time in the mirror, that being your own golden eyes. Same eyes as Shiva's, your father. And my wait, this doesn't make any sense. How can they? How can Shiva be a parent to me? I have my own parents, and they are humans. Naruto was shocked to hear what Amagi had to say. And I do not deny it, Naruto, since Minato and Kushina are your parents who gave you your life. However, with deities, it cannot be as clear as it may seem. Amagi continued. In order to save your life, they put a bit of themselves into you. That is, in essence, the same process that parents do when they create their children, and those 3 had done with you. Shiva and Parvati can be considered to be your divine father and mother, while Izanami is now your divine grandmother. They are your family now, just as Kushina and Minato are, as well. Then why haven't I ever seen them? Did they just give me those powers, and abandon me, because they got disappointed or something? It was starting to get clear that Naruto was starting to get hysterical, with Amagi deciding to spread around the calming aura, so as to let Naruto handle it with greater ease. It is not as easy a cut and dry as Naruto. What they did is something that deities do not do out of impulse or petty desire, especially with one like Shiva, who is capable of seeing every possible future of every living being. And they hadn't abandoned you, Naruto, and I am certain that even now they are still watching you, but they can't interfere, lest they draw attention from other deities, and other beings of similar nature and power. Amagi told Naruto. The world that we currently inhabit is called Sekai, but it is only one among countless other worlds in all of cosmos. Deities exist to protect the world and life upon them, but at the same time, they can't fully interfere with the way life evolves and changes on those worlds. Well, you could say that deities govern the worlds. They do so indirectly, through such things as religion and creatures like Kitsune, but not in any other way. There's a set of laws that deities follow, and one of them states that they can't enforce their direct power over people of the world. Why not? If a god or goddess were to lead people of a certain world, wouldn't that world prosper? Naruto asked the question of Amagi. Let me ask you something, Naruto. Would the people accept a being that isn't like them, as their leader, who tries to give them something that they can't fully comprehend? Amagi asked Naruto, who started to think about it real hard. Well, it would depend on a deity itself, and how he would rule, Naruto said in an unsure way, with Amagi chuckling a little. Indeed, but the deities have made sure they do not exert such power control over mortals and worlds. The last time such a thing happened led to a millennia of tyranny by Kagyu Sasuke, and then when her sons, Hagoromo, Himura, and Shiva, rebelled and defeated her, it led not to peace, but only to the creation of a cycle that now grips this world. Amagi revealed this to Naruto. This world, Naruto, had been once controlled by a daughter of Izanami, and mother of Shiva, and her actions, along with actions of Hagoromo and his descendants, had stopped this world from progressing, and humans from growing up, as people and individuals. Naruto was once more shocked to hear what Amagi had to say to him. What are you saying? Are you saying that our world is not right? Naruto asked in an unsure way. It is a hard pill to swallow, Naruto, but when you put aside your ideals and blind loyalty and start giving it thought, it becomes evident that something is clearly very wrong with our world. Tomo spoke up again, getting Naruto's attention. If you don't believe us, then let's think about it. We may have shinobi, Naruto, but do you know what a shinobi truly is? Do you think it's a hero to one's village or people? No, it is a person that was trained since childhood to do things most people can, made to kill, steal, lie, and destroy lives, execute any given order without giving it a second thought. And there are thousands of them, ruthless, and specially trained warriors that in 1 minute can go from being a person's savior to being that same person's killer. I've seen such situation happen far too many times to count, when shinobi backstab yesterday's friends and allies, or when shinobi from one village betrays his own for quick profit or something else, and that's not to mention all the different infractions in the villages, brought about by politics, corruption, or power plays, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, Naruto. An iceberg that was formed thanks to my ancestors not being able to settle their personal feud. Ancestors? Naruto asked. It is a long story, Naruto, one that intertwines with the story of Shiva and Hagoromo, but that isn't the point at the moment, I am afraid. Amagi told Naruto. The point is, Naruto, is that the world we live in, one that you were born into, is one where power dictates everything, and everyone tries to make a grab for it, amassing it, and wanting only more. Power for more power, and nothing else in the end really matters in the shinobi world. It is a near-endless cycle, where the weak and deviant are grinded into dust, while strong feast on top of their bones. And anyone who tries to break away from the system, to pose even the slightest threat to the cycle is ultimately destroyed. Such was the fate of the Uzumaki people. The Uzumaki? Wait, you said people, not the clan. I thought that Uzumaki was just a clan, living on a separate island. My mom always gushes about how she is now the only real Uzumaki, and is now head of the clan. Naruto noted out. She can get carried away at times, but still. Oh, I bet she's been telling that to everyone willing to listen, that loud-mouthed ogre Tomo muttered under breath, but it was still loud enough so that everyone could hear it. Your mother, for the lack of a better term, is an arrogant, self-centered hypocrite that spouts to everyone how she is the sole real princess of Uzumaki clan, and the inheritor of its traditions, customs, and so forth. Except the fact that she doesn't even know said customs and traditions, or what that clan of hers truly was. The Uzumaki were a somewhat isolated people, with their own customs and traditions, as well as several clans so forth. For most of the world, Uzumaki may have been a clan, but in reality, calling an Uzumaki that hailed from Taira clan by the name of their people would be the same as calling an Uchiha leaf, just because he hails from the same people. The point is that your mother is trying to fit in shoes that are way too big for her. How do you know all about it? Naruto asked Tomo. Because I was raised by the person your mother claims to have studied under, Mido Uzumaki, born in Minamoto clan, same as your mother. The clans, families, and blood weren't as important to Uzumaki as they are to others. They cherished bonds made with others, and were accepting to people that accepted them. Within them burned a fire that could light the way for a new path, yet one that shinobi weren't able to perceive and advance by. Tomo said with a sad sigh, and looked. You want to know how Uzumaki differs from the other people, Naruto, then look up above this table, and tell me what you see. I see a lamp. An electrical lamp, to be precise. Naruto said, with Tomo nodding to him. Yes, yet some 40 or even 30 years ago, something like that was considered to be impossible to achieve for most people of the world. All, save for Uzumaki, who achieved it over 350 years prior to any of the hidden villages ever being established. Tomo revealed it to Naruto. They've developed natural ways of creating electrical energy, medicine, and procedures to cure most ailments without using chakra, TV, ovens, and so forth. And do you know why they've done it? Well, most of the world didn't get it until Uzumaki people were destroyed. Because they weren't focused on warfare or politics with the big world. They just lived in peace. Naruto said, realizing what Tomo and Imagi meant. Is this what you meant by saying that the world we live in has stopped in its progress? Yes, Naruto, that is what we mean. Imagi confirmed to him. Not just in technological sense, but also in a moral plane the people have not just stopped, but regressed. In the world of shinobi, it is always easier to lie, cheat, kill, and steal, than to ask for help or offer one, and that doesn't just concern the shinobi. Even daimyo, and nobility of the lands, and countries are victims of this system, and cycle, since they grow up in the world where human life's value depends on how much money it will cost to kill him. Those in positions of power, like daimyos, they do not truly care about what happens to the world or even to their people and country, for they are so removed from masses and world that they don't even realize the full extent of the catastrophes they allow to happen, or worse yet, provoke into taking place. Would you like to know one of the main reasons why the Uzumaki people were nearly wiped out? It happened because the daimyos of other lands had witnessed their boons and prosperity and wished to grab it all themselves. Do you think they've asked for it? No, they did not. They simply sent their best weapon to take it all shinobi. All 4 out of 5 great nations participated in that horrendous event, with Konoha being the only one to not take part, since it already had the access to all those technologies, though at worse quality. This is the reality of our world, Naruto power dictates right. Naruto sat there, shocked to the core, and wishing he couldn't believe what he had heard what Imagi just told him. But there wasn't even a speck of lies in her words, since he knew for sure she wasn't telling lies to him. The Uzumaki were wiped out just because of a bunch of greedy nobles, and daimyos had wanted to take what wasn't theirs, and instead of just asking for it or trading for it, they just sent shinobi to get it. And they did get it all, but in the process destroyed an entire nation, and all because of other people's greed. And that is when Naruto began to fully think about all they said, about the world they lived in, people in it, and all that was happening. That's when Naruto started to feel like a real fool for the first time in his life. Shinobi weren't heroes, no matter how many people the civilians and public had tried to make them to be. They were merciless instruments in the hands of those in power, and when they weren't controlled by others, then they were potential weapons of massive amounts of destruction and casualties. Trained to kill, to steal, to gather information, and cheat, from a young age, and literally indoctrinated into believing that this is the only way to live. This has been going on for hundreds of years with no end. The Sengoku period may be officially over, but in reality, it just took on a new face, and continued in a more organized fashion. The shinobi world wars, conflicts that see villages clash with each other in battles, and where lives are thrown away in thousands. Thousands, tens of thousands of shinobi, and other people, all of them with lives of their families, dreams, and so forth, all are grinded into dust by war and death. And villages portrayed their most skilled killers and mass murderers as their heroes, while those that have fallen are more often than not forgotten. His own father and mother are the prime examples, with his father earning his name as Yellow Flash, not just because of his jutsu, but also because of how fast he moved in battles. And even though the war is over, shinobi still fight and engage each other, because even Naruto understood that there was no true peace in the shinobi world. An endless war, one that simply heats up and dies down, but never stops. That is their world, a world where he and Mito were born into. And he was destined to become a part of it. His dream about helping people was still within him, but with the world as it is. He really was a fool to think that he would be able to help all the people, especially when those said people will expect a stab in their back at any moment and opportunity. A world that is stuck in an endless loop of war, betrayal, alliances, and win with the powerful. This is the world where people can level mountains, create lakes, and seas with chakra, and use all that power for the benefit of everyone, but all they do is use it for destruction and death of others. And he will be learning it too, as well, with his brother and sister already on their way to becoming the next mass murderers. And what is worse is that they don't realize it yet. Hell, their own parents are lying to them, and Naruto can't help but feel appalled at all of this. And then there's Mito, his sweet, precious, and innocent little sister, a light that warms his heart. She too will be swallowed up by that cycle. At the thought of it all, of being part of the cycle that destroys any hope for better tomorrow, it made Naruto sick, and both Imagi and Tomo saw it, with concern written on their faces. It took everything from Naruto just to regain his composure, but there was now darkness in his eyes, one that Tomo had seen in others, and herself. It was the realization of the flawed world that they lived in, and the feeling of sickness at it. Naruto collected his thoughts and breath before speaking up. Amagi, the reason why you protected me was because if people were to find out I was different from them, then they would try to kill me, or to make use of me, like a weapon or something. Naruto asked in a disturbingly calm voice, with Amagi nodding to him. We kept an eye out for you because we couldn't know how your powers and nature would manifest themselves. Along with that, a lot of people in this village not only are superstitious, but also naive and arrogant, and because of how you look different from the other children of Hokage, they had gotten in their heads the ideas of you being either possessed by Kurama, or being Kurama himself in disguise. Amagi explained to him. My foxes have kept not just an eye out for you, but also slightly manipulated the thoughts and minds of those around you, so as to lower their aggression toward you. Glares and bad words weren't the only things they are capable of, and my parents don't even know about it all. Naruto stated, with some kind of grim understanding. For those people, I am a monster, yet my parents are heroes, despite all the deaths they cause, and how I've nearly died because of them. Talk about a messed up world. Did Shiva or others tell you anything about why they've done all that to me? No, Naruto, all I know is that Shiva asked me to look after you, that the life ahead of you will be difficult and hard. Amagi said with sympathy. I can't say I know or understand how Shiva thinks and acts, but he isn't a cold calculating machine or an uncaring god. He doesn't make a plan for the mortals to follow, but gives them an opportunity to use, one that opens 1,000 roads, with millions of possible outcomes. He did the same thing to you, Naruto, and he called you his son. I may not be very well versed in things divine, and all that, but from what I can tell, from what I saw, and what I understand, I'd say that Shiva saw something inside of you, a potential to make a mark on the world, or to even change it for good. Tomo said with honesty in her voice. But that's not what really matters in the end. It's what you actually want, Naruto. What do I want? Naruto asked again, thinking about it for a few seconds, before speaking up again. When my parents asked me what I wanted to be, I told them that I wanted to be someone who helps people, no matter who they are, and where they are from. I was laughed at, and then my words were disregarded, as something a naive child would say, with my siblings, and some others telling me, that I can only be a hero if I serve belief. I now realize that I was naive in my beliefs, and dream of thinking that I could do, as I please, but that doesn't matter. Naruto suddenly stared at them. Naruto? Amagi asked with curiosity. Just because the world is wrong, doesn't mean I have to follow its set rules, and I don't care what others may think. Men are gods, shinobi or daimyo, I don't care if they just disregard my ideals and dreams, because I care for it, and I don't want to change that about myself. I will help others, men, gods, and yokai, not out of greater ambition, but because they need it, and when they need it. Naruto's voice gained firmness, and determination radiated from him, with Amagi smiling at him, with Tomo silently feeling good about the kid. I don't want to be Hokage or daimyo, but I do want to help others, and to do that, to help people live in peace, I would have to do something impossible, and I'll do it. And what would that be? Tomo asked him. It's to change the world itself, and if that's what it takes to stop this cycle, then I'll do it, one way or another. Naruto declared with firmness and strength. I know that this world doesn't appreciate people that do not fit into the system, and that don't play by his rules. Well, then I'll just learn this world's rules, and how it works. I'll learn to the heart of its system, but when the time comes, I'll break that cycle. If I have to become the strongest warrior in the world to destroy the shinobi world, then so be it, but I will not be a shinobi at heart. I'll not be like that, because even if I may use shinobi tactics, weapons, jutsu, and other stuff, but at the core, I'll not succumb to the temptation and darkness. Both Tomo and Amagi saw and felt that Naruto was sincere and actually determined in his thoughts, and it showed, as both felt it. They were seeing not just the birth of a new person here, one that wasn't willing to break the cycle, like Tomo had done. He will bend, but not break, adapt, but never adopt the philosophy. Such a road ahead of Naruto, it will be one filled with dangers, hardships, and even possibly the world itself being turned against him. To survive, much less succeed, he will need to have every possible advantage in his arsenal, knowledge, and training, that would put to shame even some of the most gifted geniuses in the world. To walk the path to a new world, he will need to become someone capable of breaking the old one, someone who can be more than just a man or shinobi, and they both understood it. Are you serious about it, Naruto? Tomo asked of him, with complete seriousness clear in her eyes. Will you walk that path, one where you may find yourself alone, and all of the world prepared to destroy you for being something different from them all? Yes. Naruto said without a second of hesitation in his voice, with Tomo letting out a sigh. That's exactly what I feared you would say. Tomo said, but without any sadness or worry in her voice, only a smile coming to her face. Alright, Naruto, if you really are determined, and I can clearly see that you are, as determined as it gets, then you'll need to be prepared for the world to come after you. And I don't mean just learning all the stuff you can get. You need to start training to fight like a shinobi, to understand, and live by it, if only to learn how to tear that abominable thing down. And lucky for you, son, my schedule is as clear as it gets. Wait, are you serious? Naruto asked Tomo, who nodded to him with a toothy grin. I'm as serious as it gets. Naruto, and an Uzumaki, whether born or adopted, never goes back on its word. You better believe that I'll train you, and I'll make you more than anything that Academy, Minato, and Kushina could even mold you into. Tomo told him. I carry with me knowledge, skills, secrets, and jutsu of Senju, Uchiha, and Uzumaki, along with everything that I've learned in my life. I can assure you the training will not be easy. In fact, it will be a living hell, but like Mito Uzumaki told me in the start of my training. Hard in training, easy in battle. And believe me, the saying still holds true. So are you willing to accept me as your teacher? Yes, sensei. Naruto said with happiness in his voice, before bowing before her in honor, before realizing something important. Wait, but what Mito? If I will be training, as hard as you say, then who will be watching over her, and playing with her? And I don't want to leave her all alone with that harpy Mibuki. Leave that little problem to me, Naruto, since I happen to know a particularly well-suited kitsune, already ready to swoop in to take that position from Mibuki. Amagi chuckled lightly. Don't think that you can just hog him all to yourself, Tomo. Me, and my sisters won't forgive you for such an act, not to mention that you would be missing everything he has to learn from us. What, you mean you'll also train me? But what can you teach me? I mean, I'm not Yokai or Noni, and even if I'm a demigod or something, I don't think that I can learn any of kitsune magic, Naruto said in an unsure way. And who told you that? Same people that said that yokai do not exist. Amagi asked in a playful tone. Back in the day, Naruto, among Uzumaki existed specially trained warriors, people dedicated to upholding the balance between men and yokai. These men and women trained in a secret art that was created by one of Shiva's own grandsons, one known as Abe no Seimei, or Seimei Uzumaki. He learned the secrets of magic and nature, unraveled the mysteries, and learned how to utilize energies beyond normal men. He wasn't the first shinobi, but the first on Myaoji. So, how would you like to learn how to use the powers of yokai, and truly discover what this world truly holds in all its planes? I would like that very much, thank you. Naruto said, bowing before Amagi. I promise that I'll make you proud, Tenko-sama. Please, just call me Amagi, no need for such official titles. Amagi said a little bit bashfully. Looks like we'll have our hands full in the future, Tomo. Seems to be so, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Tomo admitted to her friend. She could feel that this kid will go far, and she will be there to help him progress, for as long as needed. 8 months later. Namika's estate. As autumn gave way to winter, rolled in the new year, and spring came to awaken the world from its slumber under the snows. And now spring was giving way to hot summer, as May was reaching its end before passing the torch to June. And while not much had changed for the world as a whole, those changing seasons saw a change in one Naruto Uzumaki Minamoto, who once was known as Naruto Namikaze. He didn't change the name officially, but after giving it some thought, and also after continued neglect from his parents, he found himself unable to associate himself with the name of Namikaze. Henceforth, he decided to use the name of Uzumaki Minamoto, since he was a part of Uzumaki people, and of Minamoto clan, from his mother's line. Of course, he didn't exactly tell his family of that change, since they wouldn't understand it, or maybe even care, but those that did care about Naruto knew of this small, yet somewhat important change in character. And that was just one of such changes to him that came after he opened his eyes to the world for real, and began his training under Tomo and Amagi. Just as Tomo promised, the training under her was brutal and harsh, focusing both on his physical and mental aspects, teaching Naruto as much theory as she made him apply all that he learned in practice. To say that he didn't think about quitting would be a lie, since Naruto had thought about it quite a lot of times, but, as time went on, he stopped thinking about it, and focused on what was important, and that was achieving his dream. And, as soon as he stopped caring about the harshness of Tomo's teaching methods, Naruto noticed that over time, exercises and training were starting to come to him easier and easier. His body was taking it all, and just adapting to the circumstances, growing stronger, more agile, and nimbler, with Naruto noticing the fact of his training paying off when a few weeks prior Tomo had made Naruto do exercises he did when he first started. To say that he was shocked would be an understatement, and it only reinforced Naruto's will and determination to progress. So far, Tomo focused on giving Naruto a clear understanding of what is required of a strong shinobi, and made sure that Naruto was developing and progressing along every possible route she could think of. She didn't try to make Naruto fully focused on one aspect, instead favoring versatility, and a jack-of-all-trades approach to the situation, and she did pass that down onto Naruto. Taijutsu, ninjutsu, jinjutsu, fuinjutsu, all of that Naruto was learning under Tomo, some in practice, and some in theory. The only thing she kept from him so far was Bukijutsu, a set of disciplines which revolve around utilization of weapons. While he did technically train in that department, learning how to use kunai, shuriken, and some similar weapons, Tomo decided to postpone the training with real weapons, until she knew that he was ready, and Naruto didn't complain. He did have his hands full, as it is, with knowledge of Uzumaki, Uchiha, and Senju being provided to him, and open for learning. Most of that wouldn't be really useful to Naruto if he didn't have his chakra unlocked, and thankfully, he did unlock his chakra pretty early on. In fact, Tomo had managed to make Naruto unlock his chakra on the second day of their training, with the assistance from Kaga, of all people. The memory of that day still shudders Naruto, but it did reveal his full potential for use, such as his powerful sensory abilities, which complemented his empathic power, allowing him to hear emotions and sense thoughts in abstract form from all nearby people, and not just those that he directly looked at. And that included both yokai and humans, and while at first it was really overwhelming to control, Naruto quickly learned how to effectively use it without hurting himself. Next thing that Naruto found out was that he had inherited his mother's chakra chains, which he could use and summon, with only 2 at the time, but they were really useful in his spars with Tomo. She did make him use every possible advantage he had against her in that monthly bell test she made him take against her. So far, he has not had much success, as she defeated him every time, despite how much he progressed and became stronger. Though he had to admit that every time he did get stronger and faster and put it to use in tests, Tomo simply tried a little bit more against him, showing that she still had an advantage against him. Well, it only fueled Naruto's desire to get that damn bell. Fuinjutsu was something that he found not just useful, but also very interesting and fascinating to learn. For Naruto, it wasn't as much a chore or a hard subject to learn, as much as it was a hobby that he found himself indulging and devouring all that was connected to it. Seals, their structures, intricacies of writing them, everything about them was fascinating for Naruto to learn and master. With his inherent ability to see into depth of things and understand them, of which he learned from Amagi, Naruto had no trouble discerning the true nature and all details of seals that were present before him. All he needed was time and patience, and both were in abundance in his stock. And, as for the creation of those, thanks to Kaga, Naruto had no trouble drawing intricate and complex patterns that were required for the seals. Already he was able to create simple seals, like small storage seals, simple flashbang seals, and incendiary seals, that, despite their simplicity, were still very useful when properly applied. Genjutsu was in many ways the same as Fuinjutsu, and it was one of the subjects that Naruto studied under both Tomo and Amagi at the same time, and separately. While there were some initial difficulties in focusing and utilizing the mind for this art, after discovering meditations and learning how to clear his mind, Naruto was able to learn how to utilize the art of illusions. Given the fact that in many ways Genjutsu was using a person's imagination and creativity, Naruto found it rather interesting and unique in its utilization. While he wasn't capable of any highly complex illusions, he was already showing quite some advances, according to Amagi and Tomo. And speaking of Amagi, she wasn't kidding that Naruto will be learning about the secrets of the world and how to utilize them. It was thanks to her that he discovered the fact of the world being alive and even exuding its own chakra, called Senjutsu chakra, just like all living things do. She also told him of the fact that in time, once he managed to learn how to connect with the world on deeper level, Naruto will be able to learn how to collect that nature chakra into himself, using it to amplify his abilities, and even utilize the 2 secret arts that are known to summons, and yokai, Senjutsu, and Yujutsu. Amagi did also state that most summons also were capable of accessing the nature chakra, and could teach their summoners how to do it, but she discouraged Naruto from learning how to use nature chakra that way. According to her, while it did provide a very significant boost to powers, it will also never be a fully complete sage mode, as she called it, because the sage learned it from someone else, and not on his own. While it was confusing at first, Naruto did figure out that Amagi meant that by learning sage mode and using nature chakra, a human will have to learn how to do so on his own, without others' help. That, and also the fact that sages with summons learn to use nature chakra at the place where summons live, which is also, as she stated, was polluted with summons essence, so when a sage trains, he also absorbs some of it into him, gaining characteristics of the summon when using sage mode. In short, as Amagi herself had put it, if Naruto learns how to use sage mode from summons, he will be able to use it only up to 30% full power, whereas were he to learn it on his own, he would use all 100% of nature chakra's powers and abilities. And, as for his studies in the realm of Onmyodo, as was called the art practiced by Onmyaji, Naruto was mostly still in the theoretical area, studying various yokai, their characteristics, where they lived, and how best to approach them. If he thought yokai were diverse before, then now he has to say that yokai really did come in all shapes and sizes. From simple Biwabakuboku to monstrous and legendary Yamada no Urachi, there is simply no end to yokai that Naruto keeps finding out about. Along with that, Naruto also recently began learning more of the esoteric arts of Onmyodo that are at the core of the art. According to Kage and Kaga, once Naruto is strong enough and grown up a little bit, he will be able to create a special pact with the yokai, creating a bond between them, and making the yokai familiar, or a shikigami, as they called it. Such shikigami are capable of not only bolstering the powers of their master, but also grant special abilities to the one they make contact with. And, as Naruto was already guessing, both Kaga and Akagi were prepared to become his first shikigami, and he wasn't at all against it, since he knew they were his closest friends, and their loyalty would be undisputed. He already promised to make them his Shikigami when he reaches that point, but for now he still needed to learn more about nature chakra and Onmyoto before starting to utilize it for full effect. While a Yakai could become a Shikigami for any person, all of Kitsune's sisters did emphasize to Naruto that an experienced Onmyauji is capable of bringing out not just his own potential, but also full power of his Shikigami, while an untrained contractor won't be able to make use of all abilities provided by the Shikigami. Aside from the training and studying, Naruto found his life to be surprisingly fulfilling in both mental and physical growth, as well as in recreations and hobbies, as Amagi, Tomo, and others had encouraged him to not just focus on training, and to grow as a person. This led Naruto to discover that he had a couple of hidden talents that he didn't suspect to possess at first. The first being his talent in playing the flute, something that he enjoyed doing quite a lot, which helped him relax and get his mind off unneeded things. Over the months, ever since Tomo had made him a flute, his now most prized possession, it became a very often sight to see Naruto either at the Inari Temple or somewhere in the forest, playing his flute. More often than not, he had quite a large audience consisting of the yakai of all shapes and sizes, with even a couple of Biwa Bakuboku finding their way to him, just to play alongside him. Along with playing flute, Naruto's other hobbies included playing shogi and chess with the Magi or other kitsune, spending time at the temple, and learning the rites to Inari, along with other deities. But another field where Naruto found himself interested and immersed in was writing of all things. So far, he had only written a couple of short stories and poems, with the latter probably being his weaker side, where stories were something he seemed better accustomed to making. The Magi did mention to him more than once that he had a good hand for writing and vivid imagination, along with stating that the quality of the current literature has dropped below acceptable levels, something that seemed to really aggravate Kaga. When he thought back and recalled the stories and books he read before, he had to agree with his kitsune teacher in that regard, since Tale of a Gutsy Ninja was rather mediocre, and that was Naruto now being merciful. And, as for Makeout series that he found stashed in between the books on the highest shelf in his family library, along with being protected by a simple seal and an incendiary bomb, for some reason, it would be better said that when Amagi and Kaga got their hands on those books, and on Naruto, they've given him an earful of his life, though they did calm down when he said he didn't read any of it. He didn't know why they acted this way, but something told Naruto that he best never bring up that series ever again. Either way, if Naruto's opinion of Jiraiya was not quite high before, then now it hit rock bottom, though the same thing could be said about almost all of his family and their friends, save, of course, for Mito. While over these months he grew very close to Amagi, Tomo, Kaga, Akagi, and others, starting to see them as his family, the same couldn't be said about his real family. His parents, just as he had suspected, were spending most of their time on the twins, while leaving him out for most of the time. Not that he minded all that much, at least now, but he did mind the fact that Mito was also often being left out by them, though to a significantly lesser degree. It did help the matter knowing that Mito now had, since November, a new caretaker, and it was someone whom Naruto could trust. That caretaker was none other than Kitsune Izuna, who was now working under the guise of a normal, white-haired golden-eyed young woman. Naruto didn't know how Amagi managed to have Mibuki ousted, but also replaced her by Izuna, but he was grateful. His parents were very trusting towards her, with his mother even having come to depend upon her in household chores, with Izuna oftentimes even making food, something that Naruto was grateful to her for. Before her, his family's menu was rather limited in varieties, with ramen being a near constant on the table at least once. While Naruto did find it to be tasty, at least in the past, eating it for almost every day had served to create a certain distaste for that thing. Thanks Inari for Izuna and her balanced food, because without her, Naruto was certain he would find himself going nuts from eating ramen every day. He didn't understand how his family could handle it, and why Kushina always made it every day. It's like she was obsessed with it, and was trying to pass on that obsession on him and his siblings. Overall, however, things weren't well between Naruto and his parents, but they didn't even realize it, since Naruto could sense their emotions and thoughts when he was near them. In their minds and eyes, they were still as close as they've ever been, something that Naruto could attest to was a lie. And speaking of his siblings, if they were irritating to Naruto before, then now they were starting to become just plain insufferable. The fact of them being trained by their parents, along with Sanin's taking part in it had gone into their heads, and now their pride and arrogance swelled to the point of Naruto starting to avoid them as much as possible. Their ego was practically giving him a migraine whenever he sensed their emotions, and their thoughts were so one-sidedly obvious and written all over their faces that he didn't even need empathy to know what they think. Over the months, the two have begun to nearly openly look down on both Naruto and Mito, with both of them not wasting an opportunity to point out that Naruto wasn't like them and that they were better. Although, according to Tomo, Naruto, as he was right now, could beat both of them rather easily, not that Naruto was going to test out that thought. Unlike those two firebrands, he wasn't in the market of picking fights with nearly everyone to prove their worth. He'll leave that to the Sanin's favorites. Oh, and speaking of those two, not much has really changed for Naruto in that department, save for Naruto gaining an even lower opinion about the two of them, since Tomo and Amagi spoke in detail about them, and their self-deprecating hobbies. Tomo had quite a great deal to say about Tsunade, who through gambling and drinking excessively, and without control, had squandered over 2/3 of Senju fortunes, with the rest being preserved by Tomo personally, since it actually belonged to her. While Tsunade was the greatest medic in all of land, her hubris, temper, and bad habits have dulled her abilities, and Tomo did stated that Shizune Kato, Tsunade's apprentice and attendant, was quite capable of surpassing Tsunade, if only she were to step out of the oppressive woman's shadow. And the less said about Jiraiya, the better, because Naruto preferred to think as little as possible about him, and his thoughts and emotions were also giving him a headache. Seriously, what was his deal with seeing naked women and wanting to do what he could only guess was mating with them? Naruto had seen Akagi naked more often than not, when Kitsune wished to take a bath with him, and there wasn't much of a reaction from Naruto. Sure, she smelled very nice, and she was very soft to touch, both skin and fur, but beyond that maybe it was something that grown-ups had going for them. Deep in his musings, Naruto sat by the window, seemingly watching the skies pass by without a care in the world, when he heard a knock on his door. That brought Naruto out of his thoughts, knowing that it was Izuna, since she was the only one to knock when coming into his room. "Come in." Naruto spoke up, with the door opening, revealing Izuna in simple civilian clothing, and looking like a pretty civilian woman. "Naruto, your mother wished for me to tell you that the lunch is ready," Izuna said with a small smile. "Don't worry, I've managed to convince her to leave ramen out of the menu for today." "That's a relief, thank you Izuna. I'll be there in a minute," Naruto said, as he got up from his seat. "And also we are having Tsunade and Jiraiya for tonight," Izuna added without much of an enthusiasm. Naruto blinked when he heard that, but then he used his sensory abilities, finding out that they indeed were here. He must have been reminiscing a little bit too intensely, if he had managed to miss their arrival. "Oh well, maybe you should take an early leave, Izuna, lest Jiraiya gets into one of those fits of his," Naruto said with disdain at the man. "I think I'll be staying at home today, maybe playing a few songs with Mito." "That is very nice of you, Naruto, but I've had to deal with more than one pervert over my time, and I've learned how to effectively put them down," Izuna assured him, before leaving him. With a sigh released from his mouth, Naruto departed from his room, and headed downstairs towards the table. Once he got there, he could see that everyone was already seated, with only his seat that was near the end of the table, and close to Mito, was the only one empty. Food was already served, and everyone already started eating without him, save for Mito patiently waiting for Naruto. When he got into the room, Tsunade was the first one to see him, and addressed him, barely gulping down food before that. "You're late. What were you doing there upstairs, counting skies or sleeping?" Tsunade said with clear disdain in her voice, with anger pouring out on Naruto, while he steeled himself and his nerves. "I'm sorry for being late and preventing you from eating, Lady Tsunade," Naruto said in an even tone, with Tsunade huffing. "Yeah, you better be sorry, you lazy bum. We were starving, and you didn't show up when Mom called for you," Natsu accusingly stated to Naruto. "Well, you are not starving now, are you?" Naruto asked in a rhetorical manner, riling up Natsu and Narumi, before Minato decided to put a stop to this spat. Now, let's just calm down, and enjoy the food your mother and Izuna made. And Naruto, please be on time, and pay attention when we call for you, okay?" Minato asked in a fatherly fashion, and smiled, with Naruto sensing that his father, while oblivious, still felt some kind of disappointment in Naruto, a reason for which continued to avoid Naruto's perceptive mind. "Now that we are all here, let's eat." With that said, the lunch continued, with Naruto taking his seat and eating his food. And while Namikaze and Jiraiya engaged in small talk between themselves while eating, the only ones not to do so were Naruto, Mito and, surprisingly, Tsunade. While Naruto and Mito were silent due to the fact of them knowing not to talk while eating, something that Naruto, thankfully, taught his little sister early on, Tsunade was a whole different case, since she was observing Naruto intently, and wasn't practically taking her eyes off the boy. She has always had conflicting feelings towards the kid since he was born, and after he was mysteriously cured of what seemed to be a sure death. It was still something that made Tsunade angry and bitter, since she tried every single thing that she knew on that child to save his life, but wasn't able, and then he suddenly got better in a near instant. Tsunade was an atheist, much to her grandmother's dismay, and for her an explanation such as divine intervention wasn't something she accepted as a viable explanation. After he was released, she had tried to do research on how he could have possibly survived, coming up with nothing. She went on to ask, and practically interrogate Tomo about her time with Naruto, and if she did something to him, like using some kind of secret Uchiha technique on him. Tomo stated to her multiple times that she didn't do a thing, and was just, as in the dark, as Tsunade, but Senju woman didn't relent, and tried to press Tomo for more, but all she had gotten in the end was nothing, but her severely soured relations with Tomo. Since Tomo, apparently, didn't know anything, Tsunade decided to take a look at that priestess of foxes, Amagi, but that also yielded no results whatsoever. Amagi was someone whom Tsunade couldn't stand for being just so that woman had that unnatural air about her, one that made people feel like life isn't as bad as it is, and it seemed like nothing fazed her. Add to that the fact of Tsunade despising religion of any kind, and it becomes somewhat obvious why Tsunade disliked Amagi. That, and also the fact of mentioning religion and yokai made Tsunade think back about Naoki, who always seemed to believe in them, and even claimed to have met them, while Tsunade didn't believe him, and always told him to shut up about his fantasies. Their very last spat happened just before he took off for that mission, returning back to Tsunade, as nothing more than a charred unrecognizable corpse. Ever since then, Tsunade came to hate almost all that reminded her of religion and yokai, all just to make her pain a little less loud. And yet every time she looked at Naruto, that pain returned and gripped Tsunade's soul harder than ever, along with the feeling of jealousy towards the boy, who was given the second chance of life for no good reason. Why should that kid get away from dying, while her little brother didn't? Where was justice in that? Those were the kinds of thoughts that surged in Tsunade's mind when she looked at Naruto, and every time he had tried to talk to him or her to him, she couldn't bring herself to say a nice thing to him. All she could do was react to him with anger and irritation, before starting to feel ashamed of herself, but being too prideful to admit it out loud. And so, Tsunade simply continued to observe the kid from afar, and when she had the chance. Everything seemed to be going rather mundane with that kid, until a couple of months ago Tsunade started to notice some serious changes happening with the brat. For starters, he seemed to have started to grow up a little bit faster, seemingly for no reason. Tsunade could have just written it off as something to do with his food, but he did say same things as his siblings, and they didn't grow up as much, while Naruto already was higher than both Natsu and Narumi, and even seemed a little more built than they are, as if he was training. Whatever was happening to Naruto, his parents definitely didn't have anything to do with it. Next thing she noticed about Naruto was him hanging out at Inari Temple of all places, often spending a whole day there. Tsunade couldn't fathom for what reason would Naruto want to be in there, especially when he could be either home or playing with other kids, but she did notice that all other kids, and grown-ups, seemingly ignored him or gave him a wide berth. Maybe it had something to do with those rumors about the kid being abnormal or something, who knows. Whatever the case, Naruto was a very often guest within the temple, and seemed to be on the first-name basis with Amagi and Tomo, of all people, with him talking to them like they were good friends. She didn't get any details from Kutsaya, whom she had ordered to follow the kid without getting noticed, but Katsuie did say that Naruto was well liked by Amagi, and that he also seemed to play a flute, very well in fact. The kid seemed to be really full of mysteries that Tsunade would like to know about him, for some strange reason. Maybe it stemmed because he looked and reminded her of Nawaki, or maybe it was because of his cheating fate, or simple curiosity. Whatever the reason, when Tsunade set her mind to something, she was determined to get to the bottom of it, and now seemed like a perfect time for it. So, Naruto, learn any new songs for that flute of yours. Tsunade suddenly spoke up, loud enough so as to make everyone turn their attention towards her, and Naruto, when she spoke up. Ha, what are you talking about, Tsunade? What flute? Kushina asked, blinking a couple of times, thinking about what she heard. The flute that Naruto plays. Didn't you guys know? It would appear that Naruto has a talent for music, specifically with the flute, which is quite something to hear. Tsunade knew full well that none of them knew about this, and she wished to use this to provoke Naruto into giving her a couple of answers. Maybe you could play it for us sometime in the future. Tsunade suggested with seeming interest, while Naruto already could feel condescension and curiosity from her. Yumu, Naruto plays really well. It's really beautiful, and always so nice to hear him play for me. Mito chirped in, before turning to Naruto. Big brother, can you play for me later today? That song you called Spring Spring. Spring's dawn, Mito, and sure, I'll play it for you whenever you want. Naruto answered with a smile, and without missing the beat, sensing surprise from Tsunade, and confusion, since she expected to have put him in a difficult situation. Naruto, we never knew that you've started to play flute. Where did you even learn, and who gave you a flute? Minato asked out of curiosity, with Naruto sensing that he really did want to know. More importantly, why didn't you tell us? Kushina wanted to know why her baby didn't share such an important thing with her. Did you think we would think less of you just because of that? Naruto, you are our son, and we would support you in whatever hobby you have. Well, I started to play during the winter, when I saw one of the monks that were staying in the village played. I really liked it, and he showed me how to play one. Naruto answered truthfully. And, as for the flute itself, I got it from a friend. It is a gift. Really? Why have we never heard you play it? Do you feel embarrassed playing it before the public? Minato asked, with Naruto not taking well to that question, since he was quite proud of his play before a yokai public. It's okay, son, there's nothing wrong about getting a little jittery when you are in the center of attention. I too had to deal with it when I first became a Hokage. Minato jumped to conclusions before Naruto could answer him. I don't know about you, Dad, but I don't have a problem with crowds or attention. Naruto suddenly said to him, making Minato stop. Then why didn't we know about it before now? Kushina pressed on the question. Well, I didn't exactly hide it or anything. Izuna knows that I like to play the flute when I'm in my room. Naruto said without any trouble. Izuna, is this true that Naruto plays the flute in his room? Kushina asked her, as Izuna was walking down the hallway. Oh yes, Naruto does play his flute when he is in his room, quite often in fact. Izuna confirmed with a nod, before continuing. I once asked him about it, and he said that if it was distracting me, he would stop, but it really doesn't. In fact, it's very beautiful and touching when he picks up his flute and plays it. I often just stop for a minute or two just to listen to it when I'm doing chores. He has a real talent for it. I'm sure anyone who hears how he plays will agree with me. Izuna smiled at Naruto, before getting back to her duties. Well, looks like we've got a future lady killer growing up here, eh? Jiraiya jokingly said, before giving Naruto his signature grin and look. You know, quite a few women find musicians really appealing and attractive. Perhaps in the future I can teach you how you can use the flute to get them all too. At that moment Kushina and Tsunade gave Jiraiya a murderous look, making him shut up. Jiraiya, stop trying to corrupt my children with your pervert antics. Kushina growled at him, before calming down and turning to Naruto. That is actually great, Naruto. I always wanted to learn how to learn some kind of musical instrument, but I never got around to do so. I especially wanted to learn the flute, since it was an Uzumaki traditional instrument. Maybe you can show us how you play today. Who cares what that fool likes to play? Natsu said indignantly, with Naruto giving him a curious eye, sensing that Natsu was jealous of Naruto, due to the latter becoming center of the attention today. Any fool can learn how to play that stupid thing, even one like him. Natsu, that isn't a very nice thing to say about your brother. Minato chided him, but without much intent in his voice. You should be happy that your brother found something that he likes to do. Now we'll hopefully have a house filled with music when Naruto plays for us. Minato smiled at him, actually feeling somewhat proud of his son, though not losing that disappointment as well. Well, if he has time to kill by playing some flute, then why doesn't he try and train to be a ninja? Narumi suddenly asked, with a poisonous feeling of condescension felt by Naruto. We've already learned how to channel our chakra, and how to use shuriken and kunai, and what did you learn, little brother? She asked all too sweetly, with Naruto forcing himself to steel himself from answering back. Well, not everyone gets to start training to be a shinobi, as you do, Narumi. You and Natsu are really special, and because of that we can't let that special talent of yours go to waste, not to mention that you have Kyuubi chakra in you. You two need to train really hard if you want to become truly great shinobi, just like your parents, and yours truly, the great Toad Sage of Mount Maiboku. Jiraiya declared himself proudly, making others sweat a little. Your little brother just isn't as special as you are, so he'll have to wait till he can start with his own training in the academy, but I'm sure that Naruto will become a good shinobi in the future. Jiraiya said without consideration for Naruto's feelings, while others seemed to agree with him in that statement. You hear that, Naruto? You may still be a good shinobi in the future, if you stop being such a fool all the time, and actually put in the effort when we get into the academy. Shame that you'll never be like me and Narumi, but well, looks like your precious yokai favored us over you in the end. Natsu said arrogantly. Kami. Naruto replied, making Natsu look back at him. What? Natsu asked him again. Kami, Natsu. Kami bestows favors upon people, not simply yokai. Naruto explained to him. Even I know of that, and I'm a fool, if you are to be believed. The tiniest smirk appeared on Naruto's lips, infuriating Natsu at the fact that his stupid little brother one-upped him. I knew about it, I just wanted to check if you also knew about it. Natsu said loudly, so as to hide his embarrassment, but failed, due to his face turning red. Then thank you, wise sage, for helping this fool remember things he isn't supposed to forget. Naruto said without losing a beat, further aggravating Natsu. Why do you think Natsu was about to stand up, before Kushina put a stop to it? Natsu, Naruto, that is enough, both of you. No fighting at the table, or you'll both be going to your rooms without dinner tonight, am I understood? Just like usual, Kushina's method of threats did its deed, and fighting died down, before she turned to Naruto. Naruto, it is not good manners to mock your siblings like that. Just because you seem to know something they don't give you no right to act all high and mighty. She decided to discipline Naruto, who had to stop himself from corking up the brow at the fact that he wasn't the one who started to do so right now. Talk about selective vision, and hearing Naruto heard Kaga, his current guardian, speak from behind him in her fox form. As you say, Mom. Naruto replied, deciding to return to his food, with others deciding to follow his example, until Tsunade, unsatisfied with the information she got so far, decided to press on for more facts. By the way, Naruto, how is that priestess doing? She suddenly asked seemingly out of nowhere, again getting everyone's attention, with Naruto starting to feel irritated at Tsunade's constant need to bring to light his life. You know, the one that Tomo likes to hang out so much with, what was that woman's name? Tsunade seemingly forgot, with Naruto sensing how she was almost enjoying it. Does that woman take pride in making people feel uncomfortable, or is it something to do with her obsession about you? Kaga asked with a barely contained growl. I've seen Nijitsune with more tact than this cow. And that is saying a lot. What priestess? Jiraiya asked out of curiosity. Wait, do you mean Imagi? That fox priestess with the body of a goddess, and those absolutely gorgeous Jiraiya wasn't allowed to continue when he fell. Kushina's feet nearly crushed his own. She is an Inari priestess, not just a fox priestess. Naruto corrected him, but it was clear nobody cared about it. Naruto, what does that mean? How come you know the Imagi of all people, and also, do you know Tomo Uchiha? Minato suddenly asked with some force in his voice, with Naruto nodding to him, surprising everyone. Yes, I met them a long time ago, when I was out on a walk near the woods, and I saw Imagi coming out of them. Naruto bent the truth a little bit for this one. She was curious to see me so far away from home, and after we talked a little, she offered to take me to her temple. I was really interested in it, and we went there. And that's where I met Tomo. Naruto, don't you know that you can't just let some strange weird people talk to you, much less walk you to their places? Kushina was angry at Naruto, especially now that she heard about Tomo. Especially with that weirdo, who worships Kyuubi of all things, and that damned woman, as well. Imagi doesn't worship Kyuubi, she worships Inari, goddess of fertility, rice, nature, food, and prosperity. It's a good deity, one that doesn't hurt people, and Kyuubi is a monster. Naruto reminded Kushina, with some irritation coming out from him. And Imagi isn't weird or bad. She is simply a very nice lady that welcomed me at her house, and told me about herself, nothing else. Does it even matter what that woman worships? Giant Fox is a giant fox, and Kyuubi is the biggest one around, so she's obviously worshipping it. Kushina angrily stated, hating when people didn't agree with her. Kurama isn't even a real kitsune, much less an incarnation of Inari, you red-headed ogress. Kaga angrily said, with her tail swinging angrily. And if you judge the divinity by the size, then I'd like to see what you have to say if you were to see Imagi-ni-sama in her kitsune form. And she is only a Tenko, not Inari. Kushina, let's not get too obsessed with it, shall we? Minato decided to try and defuse the situation. And Naruto, it was very careless of you to allow Imagi to take you to her temple. You must always be careful around people that you do not know, even if you are in Leaf Village. You could have been hurt or worse, kidnapped by our enemies. Minato said with a strict tone, his disappointment towards Naruto intensifying. Yet I wasn't hurt or kidnapped, was I? Naruto asked back, with Kushina seemingly having had enough. That's not the point, Naruto. If you can learn how to behave with strangers, then we shouldn't let you walk alone so much, and talk to those two women. From now on, I don't want you anywhere near those two, do you hear me? Kushina demanded of him, expecting him to comply. And why shouldn't I be around them? They are good people, and they haven't done a single bad thing to me, not to mention that I really like Imagi's company. Tomo is always very interesting to talk to. Naruto asked, seeing his mother widen her eyes out of shock and anger. What is so interesting in that dark soul that it murdered her own child? Kushina had suddenly asked of Naruto, with Minato seemingly shocked that she brought it up, while Naruto felt not just anger at him, but absolute hatred towards Tomo for some reason. Did she ever tell me about that? That woman had killed her own son, whom she had with God knows who, and, as far as I am concerned, she now tries to get to me through you, all because she's always been jealous of my happiness. That snake will do anything to hurt Naruto, even use a foolish child like you. Naruto widened his eyes when he heard his mother just call him like that, with Minato too shocked at that. Kushina, maybe you are taking this way too seriously. Why don't you? Then why did she save us all? Naruto suddenly asked Kushina, surprising everyone again. What are you talking about, Naruto? She asked him. On the night when you had us, when the fox attacked, why did she save us if she, according to you, hates us so much? Naruto asked her the difficult question of Kushina, making her unable to answer it. Naruto, where did you hear about it? Minato asked him, since this was rather classified information that no simple child should have access to. I heard you and Kakashi speak about it a couple of months back, when he was visiting us. Naruto didn't lie on that account. You said that if it wasn't for Tomo, then we would be dead, and the village would be destroyed. So why did she save us on that night? Because she is a sick woman that can't get over what she did, and who cares why she did it? Natsu asked Naruto. The point, Naruto, is that you are an even bigger fool than we thought you were. And here I was thinking you couldn't get any dumber. If mom says you shouldn't be with her, then you shouldn't. Mom and dad are always right. But what is wrong? Naruto suddenly asked back, with steel in his voice. Naruto, it's not as simple as that, and yes, she did save you and your siblings on that night, but that doesn't mean that you should associate yourself with people like her and Imagi. Minato said, trying to get to his son, who felt like his father wanted to hide something. You're a son of Hokage, my son, and so you should know just what people you should talk to, and what people you shouldn't talk to. And while Imagi may be nice, and Tomo can act somewhat polite, they aren't the sort of people you can just hang out with. And why is that? What's so different about them that I shouldn't talk to them? Naruto pressed on. What's different? Fool, you're Hokage's son, and who are they? Some dumb fox priestess, and a psycho that can't make up her mind. They are beneath our status, obviously. Narumi said, as if it was the fact, with Naruto starting to get on the wit's end of his patience. Seriously, little brother, if you start to hang out with people like them, not only will you become even more foolish, but you'll probably fail, as a ninja, as well. And what will you be after that? So, who in your opinion should I hang out with, dearest sister? Naruto asks with a sweet tone, but fully laced with sarcasm. Gushing fans that can't say no to anything you have to say, or airheaded fans that only care about dolls, boys, and how cool you look. Because if that's the people to be around with, if you want to become a great shinobi, then thank you, but I'll pass. Naruto said with full seriousness, shocking everyone. Rat, did you hear yourself just now? Do you know what you've just said? Tsunade asked him, and looked at him, as if he was half crazy. I'm not deaf, Lady Tsunade, and yes, I heard myself, and I meant it. Naruto said it with more clarity. If I don't get to be a shinobi, then I'll be fine with it. There are other things to do in life. Of course a fool and a weakling would say that. Natsu said it, with Naruto turning his angry eye towards him. At least this fool and weakling knows how to write more than his own name. Unlike the almighty and all-knowing hero, his accomplishments range from remind me, why are you a hero again? Naruto asked in a mocking manner. That's it, you fool. I'll show you exactly why I'm a hero, and you are just a dumb nobody who should have died when you were little. Natsu rose from his place, with Naruto following suit, while his older brother was marching towards Naruto. Natsu. Naruto. Minato rose up from his place, glaring at both of his sons. That's enough, both of you. Apologize to each other immediately, or I'll send both of you to your rooms this instant. PFT, whatever, sorry. Natsu's apology came off as completely lacking sincerity. My apologies. I should have known my place, before the hero of Konoha, who so bravely holds a raging beast inside of him, saving us all. Naruto's apology may have sounded soothing and sincere, but only because he was able to hide his emotions better. At least you know your place, Natsu said with a smirk, before returning back to his seat, as did Naruto. And Naruto, I want you to promise me that you will stop seeing Tomo and Imagi. It would seem that they have a bad influence on you, if you are thinking like you do about being a shinobi. Minato told his son. I'm afraid that I can't do as you ask, father. Naruto said in an official tone, shocking everyone with his attitude. Naruto, that wasn't a request, but an order. Minato is your father, not to mention the Hokage. If he says you shouldn't see those people, then you shouldn't. Jiraiya started with a serious tone. You may not have the tailed beast or the potential of your siblings, but you are still Hokage's son, and that means you must speak to people of your class, like children from other clans, and those of counselors. If you were to follow the example of your siblings, you would understand what it means to be a Hokage's son, but if you continue to associate yourself with their ilk, then is it Hokage's duty to care and protect the village and its people? Naruto suddenly asked for Jiraiya. Naruto didn't change the subject, so Kushina tried to stop him, but failed. Answer the question, Lord Jiraiya. Or the great sage of Mount Maiboku can't answer a simple question to a foolish child. Naruto dared him. Of course it is, and your father is the best Hokage that ever lived. Jiraiya stated with pride in himself, and Minato. And are Imagi and Tomo part of that village? Naruto asked again, his eyes narrowing on Jiraiya. Naruto, that's enough already. Minato tried to stop him, but also failed. Are they part of the village, or are they just garbage, like you are implying? Naruto asked with more force. Ugh, yes they are part of the village, but that doesn't mean that you should just talk to them, and Jiraiya tried to tell him, but Naruto interrupted him. If they are part of village, and Hokage protects all of village, and its people, regardless of who they are, then why should I consider them as lesser than me or other people? Naruto asked with force, driving Jiraiya, Minato, and Kushina nearly mad with his persistence. Village is one big house, and that people here are all family, that's what father always told us, and we should care about them, and look after each other. So why should I stop caring about them, when they are part of our family, the same family in which I am a part of? Tell me why I should look down on them, and not care about them. Explain to this fool why. Because they are inferior to your father, and your mother, as well as your siblings, and all of us shinobi, that's why. Jiraiya started in rage, as he rose up, and looked at Naruto, rage clear in his mind, as well as his true feelings. Listen here, you dumb brat, those two are just weird civilians, one of which worships foxes, and the other had killed her child, or let it die, but whatever. The point is, this is a shinobi village, and those two are not shinobi, so they don't count as good people to hang out with. Your father is Hokage, and like his son, you should be with people like Nar, Hyuga or Yamanaka, not some vagabonds that have decided to settle down here under the protection of better, and more important people than they are. They're the real people, those that truly matter in this world, not those civilians that are only of use to us when we need their help. So, what you are saying is that everyone that isn't a shinobi shouldn't be counted as a human being? Naruto suddenly asked, and Jiraiya gave his answer to him. Yes. Jiraiya said it out loud, sporting the victorious smirk, before realizing what he just said. Wait, I didn't. No, you did. Naruto simply said, putting down chopsticks, and standing up. Thank you for the meal. Naruto simply said, and without any other words, started to move away from the table. Naruto, where do you think you are going? Kushina demanded of him to know, with him answering. Outside, to all those that aren't shinobi, and who shouldn't be counted as humans. Naruto said with a grim expression, as he began to move. Naruto, wait, this came out wrong, please wait, and Minato tried to stop his son, but he didn't stop, until Mito finally spoke up again. Naruto, where do you go? She said in a sad tone, with Naruto stopping, and turning towards her. I'm going outside, to the temple, Mito. I'm sorry, if we scared you like this. We were all just being stupid. Naruto said to her. Will you play? She asked him softly, with Naruto giving her a smile. Of course I will, Mito. For you, I'll play whenever you want me to. Only for you. Naruto made sure that everyone heard it, and understood what he meant before turning around and leaving the house with Kaga behind him. To hear those people talk, to actually hear how they felt about others, and what Jiraiya said, now he clearly started to see how rotten and corrupted the shinobi world was. Only shinobi mattered in this world, while civilians mattered only, as providers for the villages from which to draw people, resources, and money for their constant wars, battles, and schemes, but when it came down to protecting those same people, only if they were paying money or giving something valuable, in other times they would just abandon them to their fates. This was not the way the world should work, not the way for the people to exist. No, for Naruto this was simply impossible to accept. All humans were equal in his eyes, whether daimyo, shinobi or simple priest, all living and thinking beings were not below him. To segregate them would be to follow the path of shinobi, and Naruto wasn't going to be a shinobi. He may learn their ways, but not accept them to the heart. If a person, human, demons, gods or yokai, needs help, he shall give it without looking back. If evil in whatever form there is, human, akashi, yokai or even gods, prospers, and shinobi are helping it, he will put an end to it, either through sword or through cunning. This was to be his way, the way to peace, and the end of this cycle. The way of Naruto Uzumaki Minamoto. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time, till then sayonara.